what if we took Peter Gregory's 200K and built our own company?
I'm sorry, you said we? Who's that in reference to exactly?
I mean, you, me, Dinesh, Big Head, us. I mean, right now, Pied Piper just does audio, but I'm thinking of ways to compress images, video. I mean, maybe Peter Gregory is right. Maybe this thing could be huge. Look, guys, for thousands of years, guys like us have gotten the shit kicked out of us. But now, for the first time, we are living in an era where we can be in charge and build empires. We could be the Vikings of our day. Vikings?
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I never listen, I'm gonna listen. I wanna listen to the drum zone.
There's that championship belt. Where do we get that, Blake? Who is it? From Meat Church? Do you know?
Fandu Belts.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you don't have to promote me.
But here we are.
But here we are.
Here we are indeed.
Look at that. Give us stuff, and we'll promote you. It's called Plug-Ola, and we endorse it. Hey, Ola. Right? Wild West?
For sure.
Are we cool?
Why not?
We're Vikings.
We are Vikings. Oh, you got your Meat Church hat on, too.
Yeah.
Don't you think I picked the right one for him?
It's very Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What is that?
I know, but that's
Dan.
somehow derogatory, what you guys just said to me.
No, you
If
just
you
have
say
a
that's
certain
Dan.
style. And it fits your style.
Plain.
It fits your business jeans.
Boring. Oh,
it fits
thank
your
you.
black athletic shorts.
My shoes.
Fits your black shoes and black socks and black shirt. It fits everything you do.
Totally.
This was given to us last Friday, this shirt, because the shirt I wore in,
Mm-hmm.
I sneezed on the way in, and then I have sneeze stuff on my shirt. So.
Snot?
Sneeze stuff, yeah.
You just looked down and blew it on your shirt?
No, I don't know. I thought I did this. The elbow.
Yeah, the vampire.
You have a little kid.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Don't you? We all direct kids to do it in their elbow now, not your hand, because then your hand will go
wipe
touch
it.
your eye. And
Right now, we're working on picking the nose. We'll get to sneezing here shortly.
You're trying to stop that, obviously.
Dude, he's bad
You're not
about
teaching him how to do
picking and eating.
Yeah. It's a tough scene.
That's a tough fight, though.
Yeah.
But then I think of you because I immediately want to like, hey, stop, don't do that, which makes them want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I have to encourage it. Hey, will you pick your nose and eat it?
That's why he wants more Dude Perfect, right? Because you keep telling him no.
That's a good point. I think I'm going to start embracing it, just like good DZer gave us this Dude Perfect jersey behind us. Rangers jersey. Maybe if I start embracing Dude Perfect, people will leave me alone about it.
Oh, you have a Dude Perfect Rangers jersey. Okay, because I know there are Dumb Zone Rangers.
Apparently they have their own color scheme, which is cool.
That checks out.
They can just claim a
100%.
color.
Yeah.
Dude, they're our leaders. They're incredible. We could only dream of being a tenth of what Dude Perfect is someday.
That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
What if we got a Rangers night?
What if we get Kobe?
Yeah, let's steal one of them.
Yeah, like Cody. Yeah, let's offer Cody like a 5-year,
$10.
$25 million
5-year,
contract.
$10,000 a year.
Yeah. It's like, come on, dude. Don't you want to build something that could be
do
just
something new.
yours?
Yeah.
Like Tyler, that guy's talking shit about you all the time. Anyway, we're in our studio today, so if you're listening to the audio version, which most people do, just know that there will be a video to accompany this as well.
Sure.
I think possibly on YouTube, possibly on the Patreon app itself. I don't know if we're testing that out, Video Man. Video Man is with us now, and he wants to test some stuff out. He likes experimenting. He doesn't want to just missionary this video. He's going to try all kinds of different ways that we can use this this video.
Do you think, like we've gone so far, that missionary actually rocks now?
I don't know. We should try
Why did
some
you just put your
missionary
hand
and
up,
see.
Video Man.
Oh, you're like, yeah, this is great.
Okay.
Oh, we also have a sit-in today.
It's kind of like a record player.
What do you mean?
Like when vinyl kind of came back?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like nostalgia?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, try it. Try it tonight. Or, the next time it's her birthday or something, next time you have it scheduled.
Yeah, that's what they love.
When you
I'm
have
solo, no kid. One kid. Excuse me. No wife.
You're solo, one kid now?
Yeah.
Which one?
The boy.
Is that good or bad?
He goes to bed earlier.
Yeah. Ask fewer questions.
Yeah.
Talks a lot less.
Yeah.
So,
Kinda
yeah, but he won't watch TV.
throw him in there like a sack of potatoes.
The text, the dog.
Yeah. 'Tis true.
Anyway, we should welcome. We do have Elias Ashley in studio. He is a listener. Listener, I would guess, or you just decided to send Blake, ask Blake if he could sit in studio.
He really just follows me and whatever my career path does. Big Argyle guy over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listens to a lot of Lady Eagles broadcast.
And you said we did a little plugola payola here for like some equipment. He offered you some equipment.
Yeah, he gave us a nice
In
Zoom
exchange-
recorder
in
that
exchange for sitting in studio today.
we can now back up for the 4th time.
Oh, okay,
Fantastic. Yeah.
So another option for us.
So we're not going to lose this show.
No.
Also, we have our old friend Luis Ellis is sitting over here. Luis used to work with us at the Ticket many, many years ago. Oh yeah.
Hi, Dan.
Little applause.
How are we doing?
Not too much. He's getting a big head. But Luis has been with us a couple of times. I think a Cowboy stream, and then also you brought your dad in,
Yep.
who was super stoked on eclipses.
Big Eclipse guy.
And then I did a post-show call with Luis after that, and he's like, yeah, boy, they had a lot of stories that he didn't tell you. Like,
Yeah.
your parents met
Yeah, they met.
at an eclipse.
No, not an
No
eclipse.
way.
At Halley's Comet. So once in a lifetime thing in Peru. My dad went down and
And
just hung out. 'Cause my uncle, it was like a NASA
That's how it started? Your dad
telescope
went
guy.
down?
Yeah,
That's-
he went down to Peru, and my
Smart.
uncle worked for NASA at one of the telescope things in Peru, I guess. And he invited my dad over
observatory?
for dinner.
Am I
Yeah.
the guy that's supposed
Yeah,
to tell you
okay.
what that means?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Great work.
And that's how he met my mom. He came over for dinner and met my mom. And now I'm in the States.
Now I'm in the States, and that's... do you know, was it missionary? How were you conceived?
Okay.
Okay, if it's after Haley's comment, it's definitely missionary.
You
It's an
think?
emotional experience that you want to have face-to-face with. It definitely missionary.
Definitely not
Interesting.
telling my
He's
parents
probably
listen to
right.
This episode.
Interesting.
He just said his dad went down.
Okay. Well,
Well,
they both want to look at the.
Also sitting next to Luis and sitting in our studio today
well, 66 maybe?
is what we might call,
I like it.
I hate everything right now.
I prefer 96.
I know, but if they both want to see the comet,
Yeah.
then they both have to be
Yeah. I get it.
okay.
So yeah, it was a lovely story that my dad met my mom because of a once in a lifetime astrological event, and it's great, a little romantic.
Sitting next to Luis today in our super secret studio that might be a permanent home at some point is Michael Mooney. Michael J. Mooney, if you're looking up his fine work. If you meet him in studio, he might just tell you to call him Mike.
Yeah.
And then from what I understand, a lot of people will refer to you as Mooney.
Yeah. It's one of those
Really
last
the
names.
college
that-
buddies, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of it's one of those last names that people look at and it becomes the one name.
Man,
It's a pretty cool name.
it's a pretty cool voice, my friend.
It is.
Oh, thank you.
Would you
Weird hearing it.
cut some liners for us after the show? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
We're
We
going to do
need-
lines after the show?
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
we need one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, give us right now. You're listening to...
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
Okay, I talked over it. Do one more.
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
Okay, so that voice, I'm very familiar with that voice because you have a great podcast out right now. It's called...
Hold fast.
Thank you. Hold fast. But we're going to talk a lot about that later in today's program. But you guys are cool just to kind of like sit in and join in on whatever we do, right?
Yeah,
You cool?
absolutely.
Like to party.
You
Can I-
lifelong Dallas guy?
Grew up in Grapevine. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right. You are from Grapevine.
Yeah.
When did you graduate there?
Long time ago.
Okay, what are you,
90,
girl?
woman?
99.
99.
Actually, yeah.
Okay, so you were not there with Backdoor Bartel. You know,
He
I love...
was.
Oh, Bartel was then?
Yeah.
Right around that time. I don't remember. I don't think we knew each other, anything like that.
He was undrafted, but got Cowboy training camp time?
Correct.
Okay.
SMU.
What was his first name?
Richard.
Richard Bartel.
Tellis Redmond and Jack Brewer were there when I was there. So
Tellis Redmond was a beast.
He was.
Okay.
Can I give you a Chappie story?
Yes.
I miss
Chappie is
miss
Jeff's
him.
dad.
So I debated whether or not I wanted to tell you guys about this, but so last week on Monday, there was some sort of like in-school administration day or something, you know, like where they still charge you to have your kid go to school there, but they don't go to school there. Really fun. So my dad watched both kids with my stepmom, and maybe the day afterward, maybe 2 days afterward, Nora said, "Hey, there was a bad guy outside of the school with a gun today." And my first thought was, well, they have a sign outside that's like a gun with a prohibition sticker on it, which I imagine is like a liability legality thing, like they have to have it. And every single time that we walk up there, she says, "What is that?" And I say, "Well, that's just showing things you can't bring in the school." And after about 5 times, she said, "Oh, no, it's saying you can't bring guns in the school." So now I have to address the idea of guns, which is not something that I'm particularly fired up about. But she tells Kristen there was a bad guy outside the school the other day with a gun. And then she follows that up with, "Hey, whenever I was at Chappie's house on Monday, we watched an adult movie."
I mean, she is telling on everybody.
Where a woman was tied up.
She's a little
Okay.
chip off the old block from what I remember of Jake's
More Joe than me.
childhood stories. Oh, I thought you would tell.
No.
Okay.
Hey, I watched a movie at Chappie's house the other day where a woman was tied up and there were 2 guys with guns.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to call my dad about this.
And?
He was like, "What? Huh? What?" And then it started to come together. He was watching like some sort of Western on like Turner Classic Movies or something from like the 40s or 50s, like a black and white Western.
That is so Chappie.
Which common theme in those movies is a woman being tied up.
Yeah. Damsel in distress.
Exactly.
Train tracks, yeah.
Exactly. And I'm talking.
But when you say adult
movie, yeah.
woman tied up.
Yeah.
Those were guns.
You're like, damn, did she get into my search history?
And so I'm talking through it with him, and he's like, you know, she came in and she was like, "Hey, who's the bad guy?" And I'm like, "And you answered that?" He's like, "Well, I told her like the bad guys, they're holding this woman hostage, and you know, they got in a bar fight last night at the bar, and they want to come and kill her because, you know, her husband wronged them." And I'm like, "She's 5. You walked through all of that with her?"
Yeah, I don't think grandparents have a good memory of what we were like at certain ages.
So we have gun, bar, hostage,
fight.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Like she thinks the worst thing in the world is like raising your voice.
Right.
Or maybe hitting your little brother.
Knocking over
and
a
now she's learned,
bottle
wait,
of water.
I could actually kill him.
Yeah, with a gun.
Or I could tie him up.
Yeah.
Or I can, yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, as he was talking it out, I was like, "Dad,
this is why."
Do you hear what you're saying?
This is why I just don't like society having any bearing on your kids at all.
I know. It's very tough.
Because everything
very
is
tough.
everything is so pure. Michael, you got like a little kid, right?
Yeah. We
everything's pure, everything's perfect now.
Oh yeah, the outside world, total contamination.
Yeah.
And railroad tracks everywhere. So dangerous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Here's the weirdest part about it.
Bad guys twirling their mustaches. Oh,
damsel. My dad goes, "Hey, I just want you to know, I was never really into the whole adult movie thing."
Like
I was like, "Dad,
like
shut
porno?
the fuck up."
Like porn?
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
That
I
was
was like, "Dad, I never ever thought about that."
That was his takeaway. Doesn't mind being a bad grandpa. He just wanted Jake to know.
He was like, "I just want you to know, like the whole like tying people up thing, that's disgusting to me."
Okay.
I was like,
okay, that means he's into it.
Okay, so specific genre
Yeah.
is the
all
one
right,
that he
Pops.
gets.
We think
very specific
protest,
denial.
protest too much.
Protest too much, yeah. It was really, really, really weird. I was just like, "Dad, stop talking. Like, we don't need to know."
Yeah, no, I mean, leaving your kids with your parents is a it's a give and take, right?
I mean,
It's all
yeah.
like awesome. You don't have to.
You don't have to watch them.
Pay a babysitter, and you're not with them. But
Sure.
yeah, they might be. I think our kids saw most of their first, first PG movie, first whatever movie out of our house. So,
Of course.
and then they would, they've told me recently, now that they're the age that they are, like, oh yeah, my first R movie. You guys wouldn't let us watch, Disney films.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
That was definitely a big player at
The whole thing is, the point is they're going to learn sometime.
Sure.
Which is fine. But how about we do it on my timeline? Because
Preferably.
I just kind of think they're going to have to face, like, the world sucks.
Yeah.
Life sucks. You're going to learn a lot of stuff that's terrible. That's all going to end with you just dead. So, it's all bad once you get a certain age. So why not extend this pure little being as long as I can? This crystal pure, this whatever, uncut, little kid, as long as you can.
The innocence.
And then some people will be like, oh, yeah, but they're not going to be as up on things as their peers. And
Good.
yeah, but then they'll be taught by their
Good.
peers who have an older sibling because their older sibling has
They'll learn
learned.
eventually, but
They're going to
why
learn
not
eventually.
delay that as long as you can?
Why not delay it? That's what I was like.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyway, and I've probably put together the perfect parenting template, so I think everybody should just act like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Brooks watched Bloodsport last night.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's a K-spin on that if you want it.
On who? Or the entire movie?
Well, there's a story from, I want to say, the New Yorker, where, you know this one?
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah. So on Trump's plane, he would make Eric Trump fast forward through all the parts where they weren't fighting.
Didn't he make him cut it up at one point then?
Yeah, I think so. But
Like,
like
put
initially,
together
it was a manual operation. Like he would make him,
Like the whole George thing with the monkey movies and all.
yeah,
Monkeys
cut it
fighting.
together. That's right. Yeah, but that's like a real story. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Eric had to hit fast forward.
Want to do a little sports today?
Sure.
We do have sports, and we haven't opened for it, just to impress everyone. Is my audio hot today? It feels loud. Oh, all I do is this. Look at that little headphone.
Maka, you like
Now it's
sports?
not loud.
How do you feel about sports?
Sports ball.
Sports
Is that
ball.
yeah. No, I love sports. Writing about sports, watching sports.
Big Longhorn guy. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah,
about
a little bit, yeah.
Sports/today and Twitter. Did you see this? What is it, Kev? Have you seen this?
Have you seen this, Kev?
Over the weekend.
Ooh.
Did you see the Micah Parsons off-season workouts?
I did. I was very confused by it, but I did see it.
Why are him and CJ Stroud the best of friends now?
Well, they were apparently they're in Japan together doing something.
Okay, they did the draft thing, and then, now they're throwing out the first pitch.
So I've got two things. Yeah, one is they're throwing out the first pitch. We can also watch that video. Which one do you want to play first, video man? Sumo, yeah. Sumo wrestling is his off-season workout. We can throw that up there a little bit. And if you take a look at him, this sumo wrestler clearly is his inferior athletically, but
Sure, he's a flabby man.
I think we're proving that it is some kind of a we're talking leverage. We're talking about
Technique.
the angles, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he does it again and gets it right. Now let's play the other video. Yeah, I like this though.
I do too.
Different stuff.
I'm terrified that Micah Parsons is going to get hurt sumo wrestling.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
look like
I
his
wonder
leg
how the
was about to
Cowboys-
snap right there. Like you're not allowed to like go skiing, right?
Right. Ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, but you can just wrestle like a 400-pound Japanese guy.
Let's see him throwing out the first pitch. So apparently he and C.J. Stroud threw out the first pitch at the Tokyo Dome. Oh, okay, that's all right. But
Well, I mean, I think
they're best of friends right now.
You're not missing much because neither one of them can throw a baseball.
They're both paid by
One of them a quarterback?
Turner Media.
One of them is a quarterback.
Yeah, but
Wouldn't he be able to-
but it looks like he's trying to throw a football. It looks really weird.
Oh my goodness.
You know what's weird about it is that if you recall, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, CeeDee Lamb's mom was like, he wants to go home and play with CJ. You recall that?
No.
Talking about
Wait, who?
CD wanted to go to Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was she on Twitter?
Of course.
Like every cowboy
He's
Facebook.
a cowboy.
relative?
Exactly. A cowboy relative.
Um,
I think it's cool, though. I think it's cool that Mike is doing that. Even if it's just for content. Like, go mix it up.
yeah, no, I think those guys trying different sports and stuff has proven to help.
For sure.
Just like your guys with Patrick Mahomes, right? They have him do a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. Just get it weird.
One more now we're off the Cowboys. Let's get to the NBA. I have one non-Mavs thing,
Okay.
which this will be good with real journalist Michael Mooney in studio with us.
Oh no.
You consider yourself a journalist?
I mean,
I consider you one. We are not.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's why I don't trust him.
That's right.
I don't trust any journalist.
Fake
Do your own research.
That's right.
Oh, actually, I have two things. One is, have you seen the news about Rudy Gobert
Oh yeah.
potentially
I was
missing?
about that
I was really hoping you would not see this story.
Potentially missing a game 2 for the birth of his first child?
You know,
Would Michael Jordan?
Do you know the second part about this?
No.
Last year, Rudy Gobert hit a 3-pointer in a game, and exactly 9 months, after the game, he said it felt like I lost my virginity tonight because he hit a 3. 9 months later,
Really?
having a kid.
Exactly 9 months. Like that night, he's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think he hit it August 3rd, August 5th, and yeah,
Oh, he
so that's
said
what the
Go
internet
for
is
it.
saying.
go for it. One of my earliest Dan McDowell memories was you being very upset about some starting pitcher who missed his spot in the rotation over paternity leave. It might have been like Colby Lewis or something. And you were really, really fired up.
Really? You sure it wasn't Phil Mickelson?
Yeah, Phil Mickelson's
Phil Mickelson was graduation.
I thought it was baby.
I think there was a baby early
That
on.
was early, like U.S. Open.
his early Tiger battles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we're talking
But I think
the year
graduation
2000,
later.
'Cause
2001.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he missed for a high school graduation, which
He actually did miss that.
I would 100% side with the woke mob.
He was leading. Wait, I thought the woke mom wanted you to go to high school.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Keep up.
No, he was leading a tournament.
Yeah.
And his wife was pregnant. And somebody had asked him, what are you going to do if you're leading on Sunday, but she goes into labor? He said, well, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go to the birth.
The Saudi national government just watching carefully. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Didn't we have this just a couple of weeks ago with was it John
Scotty
Rahm?
Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'll leave on
He's
Sunday.
on the Masters. He's leading the Masters. Are you going to leave? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right.
In fact, I got a piece of viewer mail from David today who said something to monitor was his subject line.
Subject line. Okay.
Scotty Scheffler's wife still hasn't given birth.
Whoa.
When's that
So-
British Open coming up?
So, yeah, he's just wanting to use this narrative for each major to make us think
Respect.
Scotty Scheffler's just a great,
Or is she
great
even
possible
pregnant?
father. Is she even pregnant?
I'm going to be totally
Or is she
honest
fat?
with you.
Yeah.
She might be just fat.
If
Your wife is just fat.
in the event that my wife got pregnant again, I would not skip a show for it.
Wow.
That's something to volunteer.
The first one, you definitely want to be there. Second one,
Record at the hospital, though. Can't you guys-
I wonder, though, was America greater when guys were either on the golf course or maybe just in the waiting room with a box of cigars?
Smoking. Yeah. Probably.
Or playing Tiger Woods.
Like what? Well, that night
Playing so calm.
I was playing Tiger Woods. Okay, so that's one NBA story. The other one is, now this is the one that requires a real journalist to give his take on this.
Uh-oh.
It's the video. This is Patrick Beverley.
Uh-oh.
This happened over the weekend as well. when they had the gangbang around him, the people with their microphones in his face, and the audio plays as well. So let's roll it.
Here. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before I finish.
Yeah.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not subscribe.
So you can't interview me then. No
Okay,
disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe.
He pushes the mic away.
Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over? Kind of like you haven't.
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's pretty shitty, man.
Yeah.
It's a terrible job anyway.
It is.
You've been in there, right?
Of course.
You ever been in that scene?
Yeah, media scrum is like my least favorite thing. Like knocking on doors of strangers and media scrum.
The locker room scrum is the worst.
Terrible.
The microphone, she just kind of kept creeping it back up.
Yeah, especially with those guys.
To lean in.
Because they make like $5 million, $10 million a year, whatever.
Right.
They really don't have any thought or respect or care for you.
Yeah, and the game has changed so much now with guys having their own shows. You know, so they view this as like more extraneous than they even did before. Like they look at this and they're just like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah, I'll get my message out when I do my my show.
Yeah.
Credit to the journalist though, she could have just lied. Oh yeah, of course I subscribe. He's not going to check it right there.
I'm kind of surprised she didn't.
I mean,
I don't think she expected the response. Like, oh no, like why would he say, oh well, then you can't interview me?
Right. I think she was pointing to like her camera guy.
Yeah.
She's like, Jamal does. And he's like,
between
oh, okay.
us, one of us subscribed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's at ESPN. Like, what does she care about his podcast?
Yeah.
Right. She's just a she's a grunt. She's just in there chasing tape.
And it's not
the tape they probably won't even use anyway.
Yeah, it's not she's a producer. Like,
also, you're Patrick Beverly.
I was about to say the exact same thing. You're fucking Patrick Beverly.
Incredibly petty. It's amazing.
Yeah, who's subscribing to your pod?
You messed up Russell Westbrook's knee once, and then that's it.
I want to see her push that further, like try and reach around him, like holding the microphone over his head where he can't see it.
Like a drop mic?
That could get real cartoonish.
It seems like that's what she was kind of doing. She was just like...
Kind of sneaking back
just
in.
going back up. That's 2 minutes longer.
Yeah,
I want to see where that microphone ends up.
She's a 50-year-old lady chasing tape. She's not wasting money on your pod.
What does his beanie say?
That's, I think, promoting his podcast.
Oh, I thought it said eat ass.
Something to the pod.
He just promotes eating ass.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what kind of podcast he's into.
It does kind of look like it says eat ass. All right, so that's all I got. If outside of the Mavs, you want to just slide right to the Mavs?
Yeah, man. Can't wait. Absolutely cannot wait.
Tonight is game one.
Tonight is game one. 8:30, which means 8:45.
Why, they wait for the previous game to end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cavs Celtics. I'm fired up, man, and I think the coolest thing about it is that the Mavericks won a game where Luka shot 24% from three. I feel like this is a Kyrie series. I have very little confidence in the next round, especially without Maxey. But I feel like Kyrie is about to take over for the next 10 days. And it's going to be awesome.
Why does this one set up better for him?
Well, because Luka's hurt. So, like we talked about yesterday, the fact that he scored 28 points in the second half the other day. And if we wind it back to game 4 when they leveled up, is that the game where they called like the first 3 plays for him?
For Kyrie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 5. Whatever.
Might have been 5. Yeah.
5.
After.
Yeah.
Road game.
I just feel like he's locked in right now.
It does seem like we're having a Kyrie moment.
It does. It definitely does. And the Thunder are going to be here for a long time, and they're a problem, and I can't stand them, and I hate that AT&T commercial, and they're going to be around for forever. But right now, I feel like Kyrie is the most experienced person in this series.
Like, it feels like since he's left Cleveland, this is the height of the Kyrie, whatever you want to say, his Q rating or something.
Yeah,
like
because,
most people, fans, everything.
For sure. I mean, the Boston scene fizzled out. That may be light. it might have just like been an explosion of failure. But then the COVID thing and the tweeting about the documentary, whatever, I feel like right now he's locked in, and he's by far the most experienced person in the series. Like, he's the adult in the room.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, do they have anyone that has any significant playoff experience?
I don't think anybody that plays like heavy minutes. And they'll get there for sure.
Yeah, it'd be nice to swat them down.
I feel like right now is the time for Kyrie.
Like, it wasn't your time yet, guys.
You'll get there. Now's not there.
They are strong, though.
Yeah, and they also have like every other year Ted Stepien rule first-round picks for the next like decade. But for right now,
no, they've got like 2 a year. Yeah,
yeah,
they have other people's every other year.
Right.
Yeah.
For right now, though, I feel like the Mavericks might have the 2 best players in the series. And like, I know Shea's an MVP candidate.
Yeah,
but I just can't watch Kyrie do what he did Friday night and think that Shea's on that level right now.
How good's Chet?
It's pretty good.
Is he?
Yeah.
Like, do they have a thing like we thought we could have with Luka and Porzingis? With a big guy and a small guy?
Yeah, and I mean, and honestly, it's very similar too, where health is a concern. You know, I mean, he redshirted his first year.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be a problem.
Yeah,
if
when
you're
you
7'2", you're
you
all
look at him.
Yeah.
And he's not Shaq size or like bulk.
Right. Your feet are probably going to be a problem. Or
that's why I like the Wemby thing too. I think people were saying that, but God, he looks incredible.
Dude, but it's a fall away.
It's a long fall.
A fall away from being a year out.
Yeah, or a cut or a slip.
Right.
Slip on the leg and your knee.
I love them though. I love their team. I hate that Oklahoma City has this team. I love their coach.
Yeah, didn't we say like 3 years ago it was like, would you trade the whole rosters? And I think even with Luka, you said, yeah.
Yeah. They won 57 games.
Yeah.
And they're just getting started.
I mean, the comp that I have for them is Oklahoma City with Harden and right when they were really young.
Yeah.
We thought that's going to be that'll be the Golden State. That'll be the team that is in the finals every year after year.
Remarkable. And nobody even talks about Serge.
That they had Ibaka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 3 MVPs and Serge Ibaka. And they somehow never managed to get past like the West.
And who's the big, tall, white guy, Australian?
Nick Collison,
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams, I don't think was on that team yet, though, was he?
Oh, he wasn't?
No, not yet.
No.
They had the guy from Kansas. I forgot.
Collison.
Oh,
yeah, man, they were going to wreck the league, and then they remembered that they're Oklahoma City, and they wanted to stay under the cap.
Maybe they didn't pray hard enough before the game.
That's possible.
Do you think?
Actually, it's not possible. They pray very hard before every game.
It's a very hard prayer.
Did Luka get his motivation through the Thunder coach? Have you seen his quote?
No,
I've not.
Someone, and I can't find the video right now, but they said, what's your plan of attack for stopping Luka? And he said he looked around and just said, I don't make sure Lou Dort's on time.
Lou Dort is a problem.
That's motivation because
coach is saying like we'll just put our best defender on him.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. Every other coach is like, you're gonna try to blitz him, get the ball out of his hands. Diplomatic answer, and this guy is just, I don't know, just put Lou on him.
It's kind of like if you recall, it might have been last year when they played the Pacers, and I think it was Luka's birthday, maybe. And they asked Carlisle, like, what'd you get Luka for his birthday? And he was like, Halliburton.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because Halliburton just locked him and put like 40 on him.
Isn't the big bit about a guy like Luka, you just try to make, he's going to score 30. You just try to make him work real hard, and hopefully that will affect other parts of his game. Maybe defensively he can't.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they did to Harden.
Yeah, it was a very similar game back and forth.
Yeah, like they just made Harden work so hard offensively that he just had nothing left on the other end.
So Maxey is out. Does Tim Hardaway's return help with those two, or just that he's just so different it doesn't matter? I mean, you need to have.
You'd rather have him than not, but I don't know. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is
yeah, but he can
pretty Tim Hardaway Jr.
Just depends on which.
But he'll give you one.
He can give you
one 25-point game.
Yeah,
that you really needed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that may be.
But he also could give you that one in some blowout win that they didn't need it.
Yeah, right. And if you're looking at matchups, maybe you can put him on Giddey, who doesn't.
By the way, did everyone just forget that guy's a pedophile?
Yes.
The Josh Giddey thing, didn't they?
Just kind of went away.
He was definitely dating someone that was pretty young.
Yeah,
that's one way to put it. The other way to put it is to call him a pedophile.
That is another way.
Yeah.
Saw this on the Twitter. Jason Kidd already has gotten out of the first round the same amount of times that Rick Carlisle has in his career, or in his Mavs career.
That's unfair, but
why? Carlisle had 10 years, 11, 12.
And
one
and Dirk.
Yeah,
I mean, you could say Kidd has Luka.
One, he has a ring. And two, like they were barely limping to the middle of the table with most of those Carlisle rosters.
After the finals, for sure.
Yeah.
It's still hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
And I couldn't believe this. This is the first time since 2003 that both the Mavs and Stars have advanced to the second round.
Man, I heard the Muser say that this morning, and I could not believe it.
It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Just because they're both always kind of good.
Yeah.
Relatively good, yeah.
There are years when they'll miss the playoffs, but it seems fewer. But, yeah, and in hockey, you're like, yeah, you get past the first round now and again. But I suppose since the Mavs hadn't done it really in 10 years.
Yeah,
especially
that's
with
the
the
foundation.
superstars they have, right? They got Luka, and then they got Hiskinen, and you figured more would come from that.
And you throw in the fact that the Rangers just won the World Series with their great parade.
Yeah,
that parade was awful. I'm totally agree with you, Russ.
And
it's the worst and most lamest parade I've ever seen.
It's the greatest parade in Arlington, Texas history.
Absolutely, you got that right.
Times are pretty good. Cowboys won their division.
Yep. Yep.
And then just people breaking down the Mavs 1-3 record against Oklahoma City this year.
I mean, I know what the one was.
What?
The one was after the trade deadline when they scored 47 points in the first quarter and won like 146 to 111 or something and beat the brakes off of them.
Mavs weren't.
I'm pretty sure that's the only game they played
healthy
with Gafford in Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, because Luka missed the last one.
Yeah.
Luka missed the last two.
Okay.
There's only one game with Luka and Kyrie, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that's the game they won by 35.
Yeah. I mean, it was a destruction.
The last one they sat everyone at the very end of the year. Yeah, Luka was out in March. February was the destruction. And then in December, the starting lineup was Luka, Seth Curry.
Man.
We tried.
Jones.
Jennifer.
Grant Williams and Lively. Kyrie, Josh Green, Exum, Tim, and Maxey were all out. And, yeah. So it's hard to draw any conclusions from any of that. Unless your conclusion is that the Mavs are just better.
That is mine.
You think?
Yeah. You know, I think if they would have played a full season with decent health and with the roster that they take into the second round, I think that they would have been higher than the 5 seed.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that doesn't mean they win 57 games, but I think it means that they're more than 50.
Do they have decent health now, though? Because that Luka knee looked really bad in the fourth quarter of the last game.
It did look bad. And Maxey being gone
doesn't
help.
That Luka knee scares me, man. That's the only thing that makes me concerned about the whole series.
Well, I guess we'll see. Tonight we'll have that the pregame prayer, and then an awesome crowd. It is an awesome scene.
It is.
I did enjoy the pre-show prayer that we did too, by the way. That helped us
Yes.
get ready, focus for the show.
That's a new thing.
Oh, did I tell you guys about that yesterday or no? I thought we were... Okay, so the game on Sunday, it's like half of the God team. My flag game.
Your football game, okay.
Yeah. So they asked us to pray afterward. And he said something really weird that I guess I haven't really considered. He said, we as humans are not fit to inhabit this earth.
All right.
Okay.
We're still evolving?
And in my mind, I'm like,
No,
does that mean like we're supposed to live on...
I think he's meaning to say we are not of this earth.
We're not fit for it, or like we're not worthy
he
or
didn't
something?
choose his
We're not
words,
worthy
right?
is what it sounds.
Yeah. I'm like, well, we'll beat you on Mars if you want.
God put us here. Like,
It was just really weird. Like I
Why
guess
don't you stop things down and
Yeah, ask him
I
about
thought about it.
yeah, roll on it. Just make sure you're rolling.
Roll on it.
No matter what you do. What's your article today in D Magazine? If we're going to wrap up the Mavs.
Yeah, we've covered most of it, but it was pretty Kyrie based. I mean, part of it
I thought
was
the headline was Josh Giddey, pedophile.
Yeah.
that was not the headline. That was not the headline.
Why don't you do that article? How do we forget about this?
What, that Josh Giddey's a pedophile?
Yeah, like let's detail. Go back through the whole timeline. Be like, hey, what's the deal? Come on, Mavs fans, let's get the signs made.
If you're making signs for Game 3,
Yeah.
here's some suggestions.
What's going on? Your opening is Josh Giddey, 15 years old, went to the nursery, picked out this one.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I don't really think the Mavs want to play that game.
Oh, well.
Know what I mean? Vern?
Not totally.
Well, I just mean like I think as far as like allegations, as far as like sexual impropriety, I think the Mavericks would probably chill on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Pants DJ went after women.
Adult women.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but just like the idea that Kid got this extension, it seems really weird, but we're stuck with him now, and
Yeah, and it seems like that's
I guess it's fine.
That's not a narrative I've seen out there at all.
What, that they're stuck with him?
Yeah, the narrative it seems to be well deserved.
Yeah.
He's done a great job.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with that, but you can just say, what's the hurry?
Yeah.
Why not one more year?
Yeah, on paper, it makes a lot of sense.
But why not? Let's just see. Things were going horrible last year. Okay, they're going good right now.
Yeah.
They could be going south again very soon.
are you really stuck with him? Because it's not like he counts to the salary cap or anything. You
No,
get
I
rid
mean,
of
you
him
can get rid of anybody
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, but it's pretty uncommon for a coach to get extended and fired.
Yeah, but we got casino money now, man. Like, who cares?
That is true.
Like, I don't think they
do
care.
have the
They just like
Adelsons now.
do this, and then that way, the kid feels good, and everybody feels good. And then if he sucks next year, you get rid of him.
The timing was just weird.
I can't remember which one of you brought it up, but maybe there is something to the Lakers thing.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
The rumors,
Darvingham, yeah.
rumors will help.
It's just good PR. Oh, this other team might be interested in me. Oh, I've got to sign you now.
All right, look, LeBron, rather than you take Kid, we're going to lock him up, and then why don't you just come here?
No thanks.
Draft Bronny,
No.
Kyrie, LeBron, Luka, Bronny. Don't need a fifth, really. Just
God,
play
that'd
with
be
those
so
four.
great. Yeah.
Dan would
Why even have a bench?
C in his P.
That'd be great. Did you just use P for the word pants?
Play 5-on-4.
All right, you want to move on?
Sure.
Okay. Let's do some mail, take a break. And then Michael Mooney gets on the hot seat, bruv. I've been wanting to fire fastballs at that guy for a long time.
Yeah.
So that little intro for viewer mail, you may remember when that was created.
I do.
What was the scene? Paint
We were
the
at
picture for our friends.
the studio of Prophets and Outlaws. Good friends of ours.
Their drummer is James Guckenheimer. And it's his birthday today.
Okay. Happy birthday, Guck.
I think he Yeah, he messaged me. He's actually saying ghost. Or no, gross. Remember I asked, what are they saying at the end of that?
I do recall that, yeah.
He thought it went with the theme to just yell gross.
To yell the word gross?
Yeah. So.
Fine with me.
Next time you hear it, listen for it, I guess.
Okay.
So this is actually an email forwarded by Blake. And there's no one that signs this email, but it says also tomorrow is my Jerome Bettis plus Lando Norris birthday.
Jesus.
That's him.
Oh, this is from James?
Yeah.
Okay.
36 plus.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm not
also have Hotmail Führer. It is my buddy Jeremy's Cliff Lee birthday.
35?
33.
33.
He is a Day Kyrie subscriber.
Too many bits.
His leader is Dan's Mushroom Sandwich. And he aggressively pinned me against a wall and forced me to ask for more war games. Jeremy has his own den attached to his garage where he listens from DF Tucker.
Jeremy.
Small business owner Dan, DF number 5050 here. Business Wednesday is my son Remington's 4th birthday. Kip and Bodie are his leaders. Remington's a cool name.
Yeah, 4-year-old too.
That's like a kid that's destined for greatness.
Yeah, I mean...
You're not going to be homeless if your name is Remington.
Virtually no homeless Remingtons.
No, and he's already a member at a country club.
Yeah.
Let me finish reading this email. He says, Kip and Bodie are his leaders since he's also a dog.
Why did you read that? Are you serious?
I don't like it.
Now I want him to be homeless.
Next on the poll, Remington.
From Brett Kratz. So you would hope Remington runs away soon.
Yes.
And does not return.
I hope he does not have a happy birthday.
Ooh.
I'll need the bachelor party picture because this one says, repping the dumb zone at my batch.
Okay.
That'd be Bach.
This is from Nima, who says, my brother Naveed set up my bachelor party in New Orleans. They were trying to schedule a 690 remote, but apparently couldn't get that done. I'll send you a framed picture of this to put in the den/studio. I'd ask for your address, but it's really easy to find online. So anyway, here's Nima, the great Nima Shabazi.
Pretty awesome.
At his batch.
Really cool.
With, 12, 15 guys with Dumb Zone Ranger shirts on. This is regarding the 9/11 memorial. Uncle Hotmail, I plan to be at the Monday show. I'm visiting from Hawaii. I had to share the Honolulu 9/11 memorial, but was surprised that they also have a piece of the Berlin Wall next to it.
Why?
This is at a random spot at the Honolulu Community College. So look at that 9/11 memorial, how spare it is.
Mm-hmm.
More Dan, more Jake, more Blake, more Julie from Jared.
How'd they get the wall?
Up.
So yeah, they got a piece of the Berlin Wall somehow. We're so Michael Mooney, if you're not familiar, we're obsessed with the fact that your hometown.
Oh yeah. Grapevine is it's a phenomenal memorial, is it not?
Where Jake lives right by it. He could walk to it.
I could.
And yes, the
I
fact that
often
it's
do.
in a parking lot of a what do you call it? Just a chain.
You see right there, it is Mesa Tex-Mex. It's right there next to Baker Mayfield's head.
Yeah.
Up on the wall. That is the memorial right there.
Didn't there used to be like a drive-through beer store very close to that too?
There was. There
Which is
absolutely
where
was.
Which is where the best 9/11 memorials are often planted.
Of course.
Yeah,
all across this great land.
I barely go to the Gaylord Texan without stopping at the memorial.
Who can?
Yeah.
Is there like a sign? Have you said that?
There is a sign, yeah.
There's like a
downtown
Grapevine, whatever.
Gaylord.
Mall.
Yes. Like when
9/11
you're coming
Memorial.
down 26, it says like Grapevine Mills, downtown Grapevine, Gaylord, 9/11 Memorial.
You go there and you're like, really? This is it.
Now, to be fair, there at the airport's right there. There are a lot of pilots and flight attendants.
Here's grapevine apologists.
Live in that area, and when they're driving to work, you want to remind them that somebody at some point could have possibly hijacked them at any point with a pocket knife, and you want those people thinking about that as they're driving to work.
This subject line is Warren Buffett Kemp spin. You always hear about Warren Buffett, how he's the smartest businessman of all time. You never hear of his sort of thruple lifestyle from Dustin.
Nice.
Do you know about this?
I don't.
He had an unconventional first marriage. He lived with another woman and his wife, and the trio would send out Christmas cards every year together.
What, the three of them?
Yeah, I should send you this so you can put this on your list.
Did he make enough to support two women? I don't. That's
a good question, Michael.
Yeah. That's more of a Jimmy Buffett lifestyle than a Warren Buffett.
I like it.
Okay.
Did you ever hear about his breakfast habits?
Yeah.
Is this common?
Well, it was on the documentary that
I think it was on the documentary. Yeah. Like if the market's up, he gets eggs, and if it's down.
Well, I was saying he goes to McDonald's every day, and his wife used to give him the exact change. So you pay cash with whatever it is for the sausage, egg, and cheese.
Yeah, but I think there's some component of if their shares are up, he
maybe
treats himself.
Extra hash browns.
Yeah.
And if they're down, what?
No treat.
Yeah.
Oh.
He gets the whip.
Black coffee, that's it.
Only one wife that night.
That's right. No.
Good day, Dan and Jake. I'm sure I'm one of about 100 people who had the idea to do this, but I made you. Do we have the William Pace video open? Queued up or no? Okay. I'll play you the one he made us. He said, I made you a Dumb Zone intro like the William Pace intro from Thursday's show, if you listened to last Thursday's program on YouTube. Okay, so let's play the William Pace open, and then I'll play the one that this guy has made for us. This is, that's not it at all.
What are we learning how to do? There he is.
That's William Pace, who
Big Bill P.
had me on his show many years ago. Well, let me play you the audio he sent me, and then we'll see if we can actually show you what the William Pace thing is. But he made us a William Pace open.
The Dumb Zone through the years has been a beacon of light in the DFW Metroplex, taking you to such destinations as Above Dan's Garage, the Alamo Draft House, Deuce Robinson's family farm, Paris, and several rich people's homes. There's always plenty of Kemp spins. Yeah, on the Dumb Zone podcast. Some of the biggest stars, entertainers, and political figures like Drop Beth, Ted Emmerich, Haralabob Vulgaris, Julie Dobbs, Sarah Heppola, Quincy Carter's voicemail, and former City Council member Philip Kingston have appeared on the Dumb Zone podcast. Now, without further ado, we proudly present the Dumb Zone podcast, a no puppet production coming to you live via tape from the heart of DFW.
The William Pace Show through the years has been a beacon of light in the Midwest, taking you to such destinations as the Navy Pier, the Palmer Hilton Palace Hotel, the German Village, the Showboat Majestic Theater, the Ohio Village, and the Krohn Conservatory. There's always something cooking in the kitchen on the William Pace Show. Some of the biggest stars, entertainers, and political figures like B.B. King, Jimmy Walker, Bob Carlyle, Patty Austin, Mr. T, Whitley Phipps, and Congressman Tony Hall have appeared on the William Pace Show.
Why?
Now, without further ado, we proudly present the William Pace Show on CATV, coming to you from the heart of the Midwest.
I thought you were going to finish it.
That's awesome.
I just love the close.
The William Pace Show, asking the questions you want to ask, getting the answers everyone wants to know. It's a new season of the William Pace Show. We're raising the bar with more commitment to educate, inform, encourage, inspire, empower, and help you have your best life. Everyone deserves to have their best life. I'm just staying the course. Here we go.
Wow. Well, that's it for us today. We got to go before this becomes a zoo.
It just hit me that he had to voice his own open.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god.
Can we?
God,
do you
that's
think we have
good.
enough photos and things to
Yeah.
make that exact
The
same
commercial
thing?
y'all made.
PowerPoint.
just did a lot of that stuff.
I'm just staying the course.
How did he decide which words were going to appear on screen? He was saying like 7 or 8 of them, but it was only words that started with E that were on screen.
All the E's.
He does seem like the nicest guy, though. Is he the nicest guy?
He's the sweetest man
He
in
does,
the world.
but it's like almost he's oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah,
love that.
You're terrible for thinking whatever you're thinking. Okay,
he's pure. He's let that magic period extend.
All right.
Anybody tell you that I miss practice? If a coach say I miss practice and y'all hear it, then that's that. I mean, I might have missed one practice this year, but if somebody say he doesn't come to practice, it can be one practice out of all the practices this year. That's enough. If I can't practice, I can't practice, man. I'm hurt, I'm hurt. I mean, simple as that. It ain't about that. I mean, it's not about that at all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but it's easy to talk about. It's easy to sum it up when you just talk about practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game. Not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice. I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm supposed to lead by example. I know that. And I'm not shoving it aside, like it don't mean anything. I know it's important. I do. I honestly do. But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice, man. When you come in the arena and you see me play, don't you? Absolutely. You see me give everything I got, right? Absolutely. But we talking about practice right now. But it's an issue that you're we talking about practice. Man, look, I hear you. It's funny to me too. I mean, it's strange to me too. But we talking about practice, man. We're not even talking about the game, the actual game, when it matters. We're talking about practice.
Now, is it possible, though, that from where he's coming from, if you practice, not you would be better, but your teammates would be better?
How the hell can I make my teammates better by practicing?
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
Give me one, Michael.
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
Beauty.
Again.
No.
Oh, yeah, give me one more. We got some echo now.
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
No puppet.
So they suspended Greg Doyle, huh?
Who?
Greg Doyle, the guy who made heart hands at Caitlin Clark.
Oh, that dweeb.
Like 3 weeks ago.
That's weird. They just finished the internal investigation?
I guess so. The Indy Star declined to comment to awful announcing, but Bob Kravitz, an Indianapolis Star reporter, says that Doyle will be covering the games remotely.
So
weird, right?
It's always weird when a news outlet declines to comment.
Right.
Like, this is what you do. I always thought it was very weird around the Grego ticket time. That was 10, 15 years ago now. That
at least.
That they, they were not saying anything publicly and we were not to say anything publicly. And I'm like, but that's what we criticize others for not talking publicly. And I think our guest today, Michael Mooney, would probably weigh in on that as well. This is the portion now where we'll get into the podcast that we wanted to promote for you, Michael Mooney.
Cool.
The Hold Fast podcast. It's outstanding.
So
Thank
good.
you very much.
So it's Audible.
Yeah, it's an Audible original, only available on Audible.
Okay. You did this with a couple of other writers.
I did, yeah. 2 other guys who worked with me at an alt weekly in Miami. Actually, they worked at the same weekly before I did, but they worked, that's, we got together and decided to look at our former boss who was facing some federal criminal charges, 100 of them.
Yeah, so the former boss is Mike Lacey, and it feels like it's kind of like, let's give the end a little bit, and then so it's like, hey, Backpage.com, the place that was just peddling sex, all that kind of stuff that was up, but then it used to be a thing, and then it doesn't exist anymore. How come? And this guy's on trial and all this kind of stuff. That's like that's the end of the story. But you did it. I mean, it's like a book. It just feels very book-like in that, well, before I can tell you this, I got to just take you back to Mike Lacey's origin. Yeah. And then we go through that. We go through just all the machination, just whatever, the trip that he takes to actually get to own Backpage.com and how he does it. It seems like Mike Lacey is actually a brilliant guy.
He really is. I mean, he's very, very, very smart and obviously very contentious, and has spent 50 years lining up enemies who were not going to forget him. And so when the time came, a lot of them decided to get revenge when they could.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons he is where he is now.
So that's why you had to go back that far to kind of say, well, what did he do to anger these people?
And he was fighting for free speech in 1972, 1971. This has been one of his fights for a very long time.
So back then it was the alternative, like your Dallas Observer.
That's right. He owned the Dallas Observer.
Your free paper. Any city that you go to, there will be a stack of free papers, and that's kind of like the nitty-gritty, dirty journalism. If I want the truth on City Hall.
Yeah,
that's right. If I want, who's our old buddy? Shoots.
Yeah,
Jim Shoots.
Yeah.
He's a perfect example of this guy. That's the kind of guy. He's going to tell it to you straight.
A rabble-rouser.
Until Jim Shoots, the Dallas Morning News might say something about this race, but I want to know what Jim Shoots thinks.
Yeah, outside the status quo.
Yeah, I want to know and these things were largely funded, as you detail, by the classified ads.
Yeah, for a really long time, starting in the 50s with the Village Voice in New York. These alt weeklies all over the country, with very, very few exceptions, were funded by classified ads, which include, apartments and boats and things people might want to sell, and also personal ads, people trying to meet each other before the dating apps, and then also some escorts peddling their wares.
Yeah, so it kind of turns out, much like newspapers in general, like they were heavily reliant on classifieds, and but also these alt weeklies were heavily reliant on their classifieds. And now, as you say, the classifieds that you wouldn't get in the Dallas Morning News were the kind of thinly veiled prostitution, pretty much classifieds, right?
Yeah. Often in codes, right? They wouldn't. It wouldn't be $100. It would be like 100 kisses, and there would be various, subtle language that kind of worked around the edge of free speech. It wasn't explicitly advertising anything illegal, but it was pretty obvious what was happening.
Little code GFE, girlfriend experience.
That's right. I really appreciated the married white couple looking for single black female.
Oh, you appreciated that. That's
yeah,
good.
It was like
MWC.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, to decipher these, sometimes you have to go on to Urban Dictionary and figure out what is this.
Yeah, and I imagine it's just the market knows the language, right? And I forgot about this, but 20 to 25% margins.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Just insane.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
And how does that compare to, like, if you just want to run a business and make a profit?
Prescription drug money.
Yeah. I mean, if you own a restaurant or something, you're going to be happy with 7% margins most of the time, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's how much you were making.
That's printing money.
Yeah.
Okay. But the odd thing here is that because of those ads, that allowed guys like Michael Mooney to get hired and actually do some real, like you wanted to be a journalist, right?
Yeah, I wanted to be a magazine writer, a long form. People like Skip Hollingsworth at Texas Monthly and Pam Koloff, and these are the people I came up just idolizing and wanting to write like. And so alt weeklies are like a perfect training ground for that. And you could really write about anything because the ads were democratized, right? So there wasn't one giant ad. Macy's wasn't going to see your story and decide, no, we're pulling our ad, and the paper lose an enormous amount of money. There were thousands of ads a week. And so, that allowed reporters to be really, really free.
And honest, they could do an honest restaurant review, and if that restaurant pulled its ads, who cares?
Yeah.
We're making so much money. And that's why you knew I can actually trust this magazine, because these guys don't care. Well, that's where Mike Lacey also, I think, had your sensibility in that sense, where he wanted to, go against the man. He wanted to tell the truth, and it was in Arizona, and it's very important to note it was in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Because of some things that he uncovered around the John McCain.
That's right. And a couple other enemies, Joe Arpaio, and he started he and a couple
prison guy, right?
Yeah,
the
pink jumpsuits,
America's sheriff, who is on the podcast, does appear in there. When they started this newspaper, Michael Lacey and a couple other ASU students in 1970 and 1971, it was like an anti-Vietnam War paper. It was a student newspaper, but really quickly, abortion was illegal in Arizona at the time, and they started taking ads for abortion clinics in California because they thought that should be free speech. And like within 2 years, they were in the Arizona Supreme Court, with a court battle over abortion ads that actually only stopped because of Roe versus Wade.
Okay. And Blake, please jump in because I think Jake and I listened to these podcasts, but you did not. And so if we're not explaining things well.
Yeah, how baffling is this conversation?
No, I want you, I'm trying. That's our point, is we want to make it so that I don't think people listening have heard this podcast.
No,
right?
I'm still hung up on the classified ads.
We are endorsing. But but the free speech part of it, too, is interesting just because that's, why Mike Lacey felt that he could do what he was doing with Backpage is that he had already fought these battles in the 70s and in the 80s and went to court and said, it's already been ruled that this GFE for WCB looking for
MWC,
these little coded things, there's really that is freedom.
It's protected speech, because if you were to make those illegal, you would be discriminating against the people who are not doing something illegal, right? People who might just be.
It might be actually just a massage.
Yeah,
right.
You might
and
just
it
go
might
on
just
an
be
escort.
somebody who literally just wants to hang out.
Yeah,
yeah,
and all sorts
just
of other
companionship,
things, and all sorts of other things that aren't illegal, right? Dominatrix, stripping, all sorts of things that are not sex for money explicitly. You're discriminating against all of this. So courts over and over and over again for decades ruled that these were legal before Backpage.com faced their, criminal issues.
Okay,
did it just get too big?
Yes. Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and some politicians that they'd really angered over the years saw a bullseye, saw an easy target. John McCain being the most prominent, and sought their revenge. Mike Lacey's paper in Phoenix had done stories about John McCain going back to the 80s when he was part of the Keating Five, and just scandal-riddled, and his wife even. They did a story about Cindy McCain's prescription pill issues, and she was accused of stealing prescription drugs from a children's charity. And the headline was "Opiate for the Misses."
But it was also both sides, right? Because Kamala Harris was.
That's a strained pun headline of the week.
Yeah. And it was they pissed off politicians across the political spectrum. Kamala Harris and Ken Paxton did not agree on a lot of things, but they agreed on really hating Backpage.
But you do a good job in the podcast of just laying out the first few episodes of just what was the alt weekly scene, how important was it. Uncovering scandals with the Miami politicians, just it really paints that very well. And then it also then paints, I think, Mike Lacey as a brilliant guy and a great businessman, which is what he was in the end.
Yeah.
Because he, for all the good he did for the alt weeklies, and the journalists like yourself. He also did some bad by consolidating alt weeklies, buying them up. Let's say the story of him moving into San Francisco against the other alt weekly and just undercutting their prices on everything because he could. Kind of a Walmart type thing.
Ruthless in journalism and also ruthless in business.
And then put them out of business and then ended up, incorporating them and like firing half the staff and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, there's a lot of people who will line up to tell you that Mike Lacey ruined alternative journalism in America, right? Ended it.
But also without Mike Lacey, it doesn't get to the size and
journalists who went through his company are in almost every media outlet in America. Right?
Now,
every large magazine now, every news organization has people who came up training at his papers.
Okay.
So I'm interested in just like how this gets made. Like, do you go with like a concept first and pitch it? Do you have one episode? Do you say, here's our idea? Like, how does this get made?
Yeah, so it started with the discussion. The three of us got together and basically figured out this could be a really good podcast. It's kind of an elegy to life in the alt weekly world too, because this was just a really cool time to be a journalist, really cool company to work at. So we thought at the time, and then it started with going to Phoenix and sitting with Mike Lacey for like 5 hours and drinking a lot of scotch.
But before anybody's ever told you,
before we approached any company, we got like 5 hours of tape, and then cut it down a little bit. And then took it out to a couple different companies to see who was interested in it. And some people, just the topic, sex workers, free speech, a criminal case against a media mogul, that it was untouchable for some people. But
really?
Yeah, Audible was, very enthusiastic about it.
So you approached Mike Lacey and said, we have this idea. Would you...
Yeah, before he was...
Would you go on the record with all this stuff?
He was facing federal trial, and we told him it probably wasn't going to come out until after the trial anyway. And this was in 2021. So he's been through several federal trials since then, and his attorneys. I think he didn't even tell his attorneys that he was talking to us, which is his MO. And it was an endeavor of trust from him. He knew that we were the kind of journalists who he had trained to put scalps on the wall, and trusted us to tell an honest story. And he's listened to the podcast and he does not love every part of it, but I think he understands that it's a true story and it's it's accurate.
So you get 5 hours of tape with him and now you go to big companies.
Yeah, that's right.
And how is that though? I guess one of your cohorts is kind of more of a podcast.
Yeah, Trevor Aronson.
He's done some big time podcasts, so he already knew what it entailed.
A lot of really good ones.
Like, did you realize what kind of?
He was telling us as we were working on it. I didn't, it was the first podcast we worked on, so I didn't know what I didn't even know. Right? It was an enormous amount of things, and so he was a great coach to kind of let us know how it was going to go. And he had worked with the production company that we worked with, Western Sound in LA, before on a couple of his podcasts. And he did American ISIS, which is a phenomenal podcast. It's also on Audible about a white kid from Pennsylvania who moves to Syria and joins ISIS. And it's told in voice recordings that this guy sent Trevor what the agreement was it would only be released after the guy died. So it starts with the fact that this guy died in Syria. And it's an unbelievably good podcast. And so knowing that he just has an eye for this kind of storytelling, it was really great working with him.
Are you doing another job while you're doing this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was a freelance journalist, so doing an enormous amount of other jobs while doing this.
Okay, but this is taking up quite a bit. Now, do you get does Audible give you guys advance money so you can travel?
Oh, yeah. And private jets, huge diamond ring. No, yeah, we got like a book. We got some advance. And the money comes, some part up front, some part as we deliver, and then some part in the end.
And then their job is to sell. Does it have advertising in it?
No advertising, no commercials.
Okay, because you pay for Audible.
Yeah, it's a walled garden. So if you and I think some people, I think Prime membership, you can listen to it if you have Prime, maybe in the Audible app. But Audible also has like a 99-cent trial for the first 3 months or something like that right now. And they, the idea being they wanted a product that would attract subscribers.
Okay. So then if I get up to more Mike Lacey being a brilliant guy, whereas newspapers weren't. So both of their businesses had the same thing happening, the internet.
Yeah.
And now Craigslist is invented, and that's what many people say that really killed the daily newspapers.
I mean, Craig Newmark himself has joked that Craigslist absolutely killed newspapers. It's a little tongue-in-cheek probably for him, but
Craig Newmark is the guy that created Craigslist.
Craig Newmark, his list, Craigslist, within a number of years, like within 5 years, cratered the economic model for almost every newspaper in America, including places like the Dallas Morning News. Classified ads just supplied so much income for these places, and it went away almost overnight because Craigslist had you could do the exact same thing online where way more people are going to see it, and it was free.
It was Craigslist/Dallas, Craigslist.
That's right.
Cleveland, whatever, and just put your ad there, and he wasn't charging anything.
Yeah, he didn't
Why?
charge it for a long time. I think
he's just
I mean, I think
internet renegade guy.
Part of that early tech boom thing. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how. I mean, I know he's very wealthy now, and he donated like $20 million to a journalism school in a fun, ironic twist.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. the great education you got there. Would hate to see what happened to a career. Yeah. And so most newspapers did not have an answer for this at all. But this chain, New Times, which would later become Village Voice Media, did have an answer, and it was called Backpage.com, and it looked exactly like Craigslist.
Yeah, they just stole Craigslist.
Yep, exactly.
The template.
And they sold the exact
Backpage/Dallas.
That's right.
Everything. And did they only do that after Craigslist stopped doing the
Craigslist
the sex ads?
Yeah, they competed, and they didn't make that much money when it first came around, and it was kind of a joke because Craigslist, among their classified ads, was also adult ads, and so escorts were posting ads regularly, and it afforded them the ability to work from home and not be on the street, and all sorts of for sex workers, it was a huge innovation that changed their life and their career. And then a couple years later, 2009, 10-ish, Craigslist is pressured by the government to shut down the adult section, and they did. And then Backpage was pressured to shut down the adult section, and they did not. And so all of that traffic moved over to Backpage. So in theory, you could still buy a couch or rent an apartment on Backpage.com, but the vast majority of the business was through adult classifieds.
Okay.
And they did charge. They charged $5 and up per ad. And so they went from making almost nothing to making $100 million a year very quickly.
And the reason they said no to the pressure is because they had been through this before. Yeah. I had taken this case to court in 1975.
Yeah,
it was one. Yeah. I knew this is solid every time. It always wins. All my lawyers tell me we're fine. So they just kept doing it.
I think Michael Lacey's official response to the request to shut down Backpage was no, fuck you.
Okay. Which is very Mike Lacey.
Yeah.
Right? I guess in explaining who he is, too, explain why the podcast is called Hold Fast, because Mike Lacey's a tough guy.
Yeah, Mike Lacey, he's been in a lot of bar fights in his life. So it's called Hold Fast. Mike Lacey has tattoos on his knuckles that say the words Hold Fast, HOLDFAST. And he got these not as a 20-something drunk, in his late 40s, and he says this is to make peace with his father, who had the same tattoos on his hand. His father was like a mafia enforcer in Newark, and Mike Lacey said that those knuckles were the part of his father he saw the most, and so this was his way of making peace by getting Hold Fast tattooed. And Hold Fast is like an old sailor expression that meant you could hold a rope basically through any storm. Like everybody else on the boat could put their life in your hands because you were never going to let go of that rope. And Mike Lacey has never let go of a fight in his life.
And the father, his demise?
Yeah, murder-suicide.
He murdered his wife? And then?
I'm actually not I think it actually went the other way.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure, but I think. And we didn't.
Might have used those knuckles on the wife at some point?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he did not keep his hands to himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, that affected Mike Lacey pretty dramatically, both the violence he saw in his youth and the demise of his parents.
I think the angle of it being funded, primarily the New Times and the entire organization being funded by Backpage, is interesting to me because, like, on one hand, these are papers that are supposed to stand up for the subjugated and for those that are, like, cast off by society. So on one hand, like, they are actually making it easier for those people to make money.
Mm-hmm.
for those people to actually run their business, be it sex work or otherwise. And on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but you also might be participating in sex trafficking.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing.
It's a weird middle ground to try to.
And at some point, Backpage had 30 million ads across the world in a year. So yes, there was sex trafficking that definitely happened on the site, and how you deal with that became a real issue. And for a long time, Backpage was incredibly cooperative with police and the FBI. The FBI gave them some award. A lot of police officers.
An award?
Yeah, I mean they as in you were helped law enforcement so much. Here's some sort of plaque or whatever. And a lot of officers across the country made their careers, making cases on Backpage because it was so easy and they were so cooperative. And the politicians' answer to this was to eliminate Backpage, which of course just drove that did not eliminate sex trafficking.
Yeah,
it did not eliminate sex work. Yeah. It just drove it underground and websites that did not cooperate with law enforcement and were not based in America. And sex workers describe the end of Backpage as the most catastrophic thing that ever happened in their industry.
Because like you'd mentioned, they sort of made it safe in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was safe.
Did that come up in the case?
Safer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was as safe as possible for them because there was now a paper trail. There was, a credit card. You could see who bought this ad if somebody was being trafficked. You could tell who responded to this ad if a sex worker went missing. Sex workers were able to make appointments as they were able to tell their friends, hey, if I don't call you 5 minutes after 1, this is who I was with. And when Backpage went away, all of those things became much more difficult.
But at the, like you said, if the powers that be, what they see is that there are going to be some things that happen.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a murder because somebody met someone on Backpage.
Which absolutely happened.
And then let's say there's 2 or 3 of those across the nation. Out of the 100 million people that are on Backpage, there were 3 murders.
It sounds like a trend story. Yeah.
Now it's the Backpage murders.
Right.
And it's the Backpage. And even what you said, that people are being sex trafficked.
Right.
There may have been a few.
Yeah.
But I think you were in the podcast, the analogy is to when I was growing up, they had, I just remember kids' pictures would be on milk cartons.
Yeah.
And it gave the impression, and that's the impression I had growing up, was just kids with their families are being snatched left and right.
Right.
And we're putting them all on these milk cartons. When it was actually very few kids' pictures.
A couple dozen total. It was like 1 billion milk cartons, but it was like a couple dozen kids' pictures.
And most of those kids.
A divorce has gone bad and a parent stole a kid.
Yeah, it wasn't like in a department store. I just saw this juicy-looking little, 7-year-old. And
very few stranger snatchings.
Juicy.
Settle down, Josh Giddy.
7-year-old.
How's that not become a drop?
Yeah, because you luckily talked over it.
I'm here to save you.
In fact, so speaking of the moral panic, you guys had played an ad from that era, and I wanted to play it for these guys.
You've taught your children to be polite and friendly. But have you taught them when not to be?
Hi there. Do you live around here?
Uh-huh.
You going to school?
Yes.
Well, I could give you a ride.
Last year, 50,000 children disappeared, many of them from nice, safe neighborhoods.
It's okay. Come on, help me.
Talk to your children about not talking to strangers, and do it today. A message for your child's safety from the American Medical Association.
Now, stranger danger is something that I remember my kids understanding that and blah, blah, blah. But right there, 50,000 kids taken from nice neighborhoods like this one. When that was, like you said, the majority, if there was a kid that was a air quote kidnapping case, it was a, dad who was gone or whatever, mom.
Right, a custody dispute.
Basically. Yeah. Which you can call kidnapping.
Yeah. And there's also this part, America has moral panics going back to witch hunts, right? This is part of our country's history. We had satanic panic in the 80s where there were kids getting charged with crimes because they listened to heavy metal. And daycares being shut down because kids said that there was Satan worshiping or whatever going on. But there was also a sect of society that really hated prostitution and wanted to shut down prostitution and thought it was immoral and degenerating our society in some major way. But the polls in America have changed dramatically over the last couple of decades, where the vast majority of people now, when polled, think that whatever happens between consenting adults behind closed doors should probably be legal. And so the kind of pressure against prostitution, and a lot of that was religious based, shifted the language from prostitution or hookers to sex trafficking. And there were people who testified in these federal trials that, even a woman coming out of a cake at a birthday party is a form of sex trafficking. So this language has changed in the last couple of decades in a way that most of us don't think about at all. Most of us, that's just not part of our regular conversations.
Yes, the term trafficked makes me think of some nefarious guy with a
smuggler.
Yeah,
Right,
you got a
industrial level.
What do you call it? Like a semi full of ladies in the back or something.
Sabatka type
Sound of
situation.
Freedom movie. That's what the whole
Yeah, I think you mentioned Sound of Freedom gets a little play in this, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, one of the jurors on Mike Lacey's trial in August believed that was a documentary, that this movie was an actual documentary of things that happened, of this man going and rescuing children from sex traffickers.
Jesus was in it, so I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Jim Caviezel's, that's really brings some holy power to that.
Yeah.
So there was, and I'm looking at my notes trying to remember how this fits in. Operation Cross Country was an FBI sting to find minors who were being sex trafficked. Is that what they used Backpage and their help with?
Yeah.
Or is that a different thing? Okay.
They used Backpage when it started. I think that may have started around the time when Backpage was shut down.
They used Backpage for sting operations, right?
Yeah, they used Backpage for sting operations often, and news organizations, recorded that. But when they started doing Operation Cross Country, it was a lot of local law enforcement agencies trying to investigate however they could, and they found almost no trafficking, right? In every city, this eventually expanded to almost every city in America, and total, they would find like 1 or 2 children involved in this. Many of them were runaways who were just trying to figure out a way to make money.
8,500 investigations and like 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Very small number.
So there's not a van driving around just taking kids in from suburban neighborhoods and then making them part of this group of ladies that will have sex with you now.
If there were thousands of police officers that somehow missed it.
Okay.
I want to go back to Blake, though. Like, I think Blake just being interested in the idea of a classified ad. Like, you just don't recall this at all?
Well, no, because, newspapers were dying, obviously, when I was a kid, and I remember you pay, a couple bucks for it, and I just assumed that was the model, is you pay for the newspaper, and that's how they made their money, and that's how they pay their journalists. But people taking out ads to sell their boat or have sex, that doesn't...
Garage sales.
Yeah, it doesn't compete with
I mean, that was the entire economic model.
Yeah, the subscription for a newspaper really doesn't pay that much of their business model.
Basically paying for the paper, the literal paper that it's printed on. The rest of it is the margins were made on, I have a garage sale.
I mean, which when I work backwards, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All this stuff is online now, and I had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. If we're going back to the beginning, was their intent? I mean, did they know that this came with it? That this whole quote unquote sexual trafficking could be investigated? Did they know that this could be a part of it whenever they started it?
I think when they started the newspaper, especially, no, right? Classified sex ads were just part of this model that had already existed for 20 years by the time they started their paper in Arizona.
But what about Backpage?
When they went online, I don't think that was part of the discussion at all, right? That level of trafficking. I think it was just for them a direct transport of what was happening in the newspaper on the back page of the newspaper onto the internet, right? They use the same branding. I think to the executives, it was the exact same thing. It was the exact same language, often the same types of photos. Some papers had photos, some didn't. New Times papers did have photos. The Dallas Observer, you could for years just go through the back pages and find photos and sex ads, and that's what Backpage became. And so for them, this felt, they had a lot of lawyers, and they all looked at it and said, this is legal.
Because it was.
Yeah, because it had been declared legal.
And it's funny you played the Silicon Valley Open because, they did a video app, which then pedophiles started using. Right. So they didn't really understand the ramifications of building what they built. So I was just curious if Backpage kind of see this happening because they fought a little bit.
And as Backpage grew, they understood that people were doing illegal things that were not the same thing that were happening in the back of the newspapers and tried to work with law enforcement as much as possible. And then, of course, later law enforcement used the evidence that was turned over to them by the company against the company.
Well, they would submit all the different ads that they thought were suspicious over, and then they were told that you're submitting too many.
Right. Yeah. This is too many to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had to have been catching more people then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Than they are now.
Yeah. The number of people who were caught trafficking people or working underage as sex workers or, patronizing underage sex workers, the number of people caught has gone down dramatically because they don't have a cooperative entity like Backpage working with them.
But those but the catching this guy here and there doesn't get the big headlines like the $100 million a year enterprise that we just put out of business.
Yeah, that's right.
And basically use the word sex trafficking over it because that's all they did, even though that wasn't what they were charged with in court.
That's right. None of the criminal charges related to actual sex trafficking at all. Right. It was the kind of thing. And there was a trial in 2021 that ended in a mistrial because the government, the DOJ attorneys used the term sex trafficking so often that the federal judge said, this is going to be a mistrial, right? This is contaminating the jury. This isn't, it was.
They were warned on multiple occasions not to do it. And they just continue to do it every single time they brought evidence that this is all sex trafficking.
Now, they did testify in front of Congress.
They did.
And I think in that portion, you or one of your cohorts said, that you were giving the Lacey arguments. Lacey and Larkin, his business partner who ended up committing suicide himself. But they were giving their arguments not in front of Congress, and it sounded like really good. They had good arguments that they were actually trying to stop child trafficking, yet it didn't seem like they presented those arguments to Congress. Is that true?
Right. Once they got in front of John McCain's committee, they just took the fifth. They pled the fifth. They actually said that they declined to answer questions based on the Fifth and First Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they knew that anything they said could obviously be used against them in some sort of criminal case. And so, but that really did not make them look great in the public when they've got senators from both parties just railing against them, and they're sitting there not answering questions.
Okay, so public perception played into this pretty big time.
Yeah. And Cindy McCain sat directly behind them.
Yep.
Okay. And then even if it was for a couple of outlier cases, but that's what gets people fired up. It's kind of like a transgender and women's sports thing. There's very few.
Right, the 0.001%.
Yeah, but that's going to get everybody voting for you, and it is a thing that will unite the parties.
Like I said, Ken Paxton and Kamala Harris both joined together to write the legislation, right?
Right,
so,
right. To bring the criminal charges.
Think of two more opposite people on the political spectrum, and they were working together for this because they knew it would get the clicks.
Right. We have another reporter say this in the show, but it's really true. When politicians of both parties get together, it's never for like, let's fix what's wrong with healthcare in America. Let's fix some of these large problems. It's these super small marginal
culture
issues,
something. Yeah.
Yes, that becomes grandstanding very quickly.
Yeah, that's tough to hear about politicians. I
expected so much better.
Sorry for crushing your dreams.
Yeah, that's happening now with TikTok, right? The TikTok ban and all that stuff.
Right.
With the Patriot Act, all those different things where it's we got bipartisan support. It's never really something that's ended up being good for the public.
And what comes? I'm sorry.
Once they ban TikTok, that's going to solve all of our problems, really.
Sure,
for sure.
Yeah.
It's downhill from there.
What's come full circle, too, is that then, as you say, the existence of the alt weeklies or even Backpage.com in the early days, I guess, because Lacey would then go ahead and divest himself, right? He shed the alt weeklies and just went solely because the heat was hot.
Yeah, in 2012,
the alt weeklies,
the pressure on these newspapers, there were very strategic activists targeting these Backpage and these newspapers for all sorts of reasons, political and otherwise. And the pressure became, and they were targeting other advertisers. So they were going after the restaurants and the bars that advertised in the Dallas Observer, in addition to just these classified ads, because they were saying, look, you're working with a company that is supporting sex trafficking.
Right.
And so the pressure on the editorial business became so strong that they eventually split off Backpage and Village Voice Media. But Michael Lacey and Jim Larkin went with Backpage.
Because that was where the big money was.
I mean, exactly. They frame it as a First Amendment as a free speech thing, but they went where hundreds of millions of dollars were raining upon them, and not the editorial side where they were not making an enormous amount of money.
Yeah, he was stoked on journalism for sure, as his early days show, but he was also stoked on money, like many people are, and he ended up going with the money. But the ironic thing is, in the end, like that the good journalism was, there was better journalism because of these porn ads or whatever you want to call them, you know?
Yeah, sex ads. I mean, that sex ad.
There was better journalism because of that.
Provided the opportunity to do great journalism. That those opportunities are not nearly as common now.
But yes, so along the same lines, journalism has suffered.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it certainly has suffered, you know, from the major newspapers that can't afford, you know, a correspondent in this city or that city anymore, but it's suffered at the local level.
Yeah, and the amount of time and effort that reporters are able to put into stories has just dropped dramatically, right? So a lot of the things that are being taught in journalism school barely apply in the journalism world now.
When did Mike Lacey knew he had some heat coming at him, and you detail that all of a sudden you got an email, and many people did, that used to work for Mike Lacey in some way, shape, or form, somehow offering you $5,000.
Yeah, it was a real vague email at first. It said somebody had a gift for me and they needed my Social Security number or something along those lines, which of course immediately
deleted.
Seemed like a scam. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a couple of other people who worked at the company, you know, we were friends, got those same emails and we're all like, oh, well, this is a weird scam, right? I was actually at my wedding in Wales when we had a bunch of other people who worked at the company were all there. My wife had been our nightlife columnist actually at the paper in Miami. And one of the people there got an email from a friend who said, look, I actually replied to that scam email and very quickly I got a $5,000 check. You know, we're journalists. $5,000 sounded great.
Yeah.
So now we're running around trying to find a Wi-Fi signal so we can all, at a wedding party, so we can all reply to this email and maybe get our $5,000 checks.
And the point of that was like just to lighten the load of what the government could take from him.
He's never been Michael Lacey's never been super explicit as to why he sent those checks or how he picked who was going to get them and who didn't. Because of the three people who worked on the podcast, two of us got the checks and one of us didn't.
Did you guys mention that to him when interviewing him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And especially
did he make it right?
When he said, you know, everybody who was supposed to get a check got a check. And I just looked at him and said, he didn't get a check. And it was great awkwardness. And I think we all had a nice scotch after that again.
Okay.
What did he do with your socials?
Yeah. It's on the dark web. It was actually, I think they said that they were going to pay taxes on it too for us, which I don't think is legal. I don't think that's how that works. And personally, I paid double taxes just to be safe. Sure
you did.
Yeah.
But we're on video.
That's right.
They saw your wink.
Is that what we're calling it? So, you know, it was, I think personally it was probably, he knew that a lot of bad things were about to happen to him. He knew that a lot of his money was about to go away. He made himself a couple $1 million less rich. So kind
of a fuck you to the government, right? Like, you're not going to take this money.
Yeah, and a thank you to a lot of the people who had made his life so fun for him, right? He loved this so much. He would, you know, in his words, he would go around the country, going to these editorial meetings, talking with some of the smartest, most ambitious journalists in the community, ruining his marriage, and just really loved this. Loved journalism, loved this attitude, loved that he inspired this company that at some point there were 17 papers across the country that he was in charge of, and they were all really modeled in his image. And so I personally think it was a thank you to a lot of the journalists that had made that life for him, and also, you know, made him pretty rich.
How many people did he send checks to?
We never got a firm number on it. I think it was something around $2 or $3 million worth of $5,000 checks. So 20, 40, 60, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
A lot of people. But a lot of people who didn't get them too. And, you know, when we're comparing notes around the company, because, you know, we had probably 7 or 8 staff writers at each paper. And, you know, we all knew each other, or not all knew, but there was a community even across the cities. And so we were able to kind of compare notes and see who didn't get it. And it was always fascinating. Why do you think this guy didn't send me? He must have hated me, you know, whatever.
It's very interesting, though, because there is a lot of evidence that this guy's a dirtbag and you should not like him, but it's very Tony Soprano or Vic Mackey or whatever the just the
flawed hero.
I love this guy.
He's incredibly compelling, and he's fun, really fun to be around. And he is just genuinely an asshole, right? And he admits it, and he just can't not be that, right? He can't back away from a fight, but he's also so eloquent and drops, incredibly funny lines left and right.
So Michael Mooney is our guest in here. Don't really need to reset, but I did want to just let people know that you've done lots of other stuff as well. This isn't like your first venture.
No.
And you have some local stuff that we wanted to pick your brain about. One of those things is the South Lake cartel story. Jake and I have been fascinated with that for quite some time. We used to do it on the news every day, and we're even concerned at one point, like, should we be talking about the cartel every day? And
funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 2013, May 20th.
That long ago?
The anniversary's coming up.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
That a guy in South Lake Town Square was Town Square, the nice development in South Lake. Got some ice cream with his wife, went back to their SUV. 2 hitmen came up, shot him 9 or 10 times, left him dying there in his car, left his wife screaming, jumped back in the car, drive away. Turns out that this is a cartel hit, that the guy who was killed was an attorney for the cartel, for Ariel Cardenas, who was a leader of the Gulf Cartel. And so this was this big mystery, like, how did this happen? What exactly happened here? And I started making calls basically that night or the next night. 5 years later, my story eventually came out in Texas Monthly. I think it was called "The Cartel Next Door" was the headline.
5 years.
That's how long it took.
What'd you end up getting paid? Like for that one story?
Again, another private jet, another.
No, I mean, I'm just wondering, if you put 5 years of work into something, off and on, I'm sure it's not every day for 8 hours a day, but does that net you a couple $1,000?
So yeah, I got paid for the story, but it's also been optioned a couple of times. It was turned into Selena Gomez made a documentary about it for Univision, where I think I get a producer credit. I'm in the documentary too.
Okay, nice.
And so I've gotten some money from that too.
Excellent.
Did you get to meet her?
I did not get to meet her, and I love Selena Gomez too. So I really, really.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah,
yeah. Some people. Demi Lovato, maybe, I don't know.
I don't care about her.
Yeah, I don't know the exact. She hasn't cut a diss track.
I haven't heard her beef. Yeah, her diss track.
Yeah. And so, it's not freelance magazine writing is not super easy, right? Almost everybody who does it full-time supplements with consulting and making a life writing is not always easy. But yeah, I got paid. Texas Monthly is a good magazine, pays pretty well.
Okay. And then we also know you wrote about Ron Washington. What is that story?
I did, yeah. That came out in 2011 in D Magazine. I was a staff writer at D Magazine for a long time, but I think that was freelance actually when I did that. And that was after the first World Series run, and not a couple months after his, cocaine admission and that kind of thing. And so
first time
he'd ever used it ever. Just happened to be right before a drug test. So unfortunate. So I loved this guy. Thought he, again, an incredibly compelling character, an amazing story to go from that in the offseason to, the World Series. And I grew up a huge Rangers fan. And so I just absolutely love this guy. And I really wanted to do a story about him and figuring out exactly what the angle was going to be or what. And talking with Tim Rogers, the editor of D Magazine, we were like, hey, nobody's ever interviewed him in New Orleans, where he's from. And this wasn't too long after Katrina. And so I asked the Rangers, and they were like, no, absolutely not. He does no interviews in New Orleans. Do not go there. I went anyway, went to his house, knocked on his door. He was not happy to see me. He did not talk to me for a long time. I had also, I was a big fan of Gay Talese, the Esquire writer, magazine godfather of profiles, and he did a really famous story about Joe DiMaggio in the 60s. Joe DiMaggio was retired, and this wasn't too long after Marilyn Monroe died. And so Gay Talese goes to Joe DiMaggio's restaurant in San Francisco. Joe DiMaggio doesn't want to talk to him. Gay Talese then just sits on the curb outside. Joe DiMaggio, being an incredibly nice guy, sees him when he's leaving, and offers him a ride. And so I'm thinking maybe this will happen to me too. And so I knock on Ron Washington's door. I also knocked on all of his neighbors' doors just to say, hey, what's it like living next to Ron Washington? and none of them knew who he was. None of them knew that they lived next to like the manager of a baseball team that had just been in the World Series. And this is in the 9th Ward in New Orleans, which is really close to Lake Pontchartrain. There had been immense flooding. The houses, half the houses were still abandoned. They had X's on them, spray paint. Flooding damage was still really, really obvious. And I also noticed that Ron Washington had a racial slur carved into the sidewalk in front of his house, and he'd owned this house for more than 20 years. He bought it when he was a professional player. He didn't want to talk about any of those things. So when he politely-ish declined talking to me, I sat on the curb across from his house and kind of hoped that maybe he would see me and drive me back to my hotel or whatever. And he did see me. He came out, and I think he was washing his car. And I heard him
washes his own car in the driveway.
Yeah, okay, in like a nice, it's not a mansion, right? It was like probably a 3-2 on the corner.
Well, let me tell you something. The reason I am fascinated by this story is that I read it at the time, and the story was like, this is not, like you said, it's not a mansion. In fact, it's not even like that nice of a suburban home.
No,
it's a downtrodden area, and so we went to the New Orleans Super Bowl a couple years after that, and we went to that house. We had to see it.
Was the racial slur still there?
I don't know, but I know there's one more now.
He etched it.
I was going to say,
that's great. Yeah, so he eventually did see me, and instead of coming out and offering me a ride, I did hear him go inside and call the Rangers media guys. And so I could hear him on the phone being like, he's actually outside right now. And my phone starts ringing immediately, and it's the Rangers guys who were
John Blake?
Yes.
Not happy with you?
Very angry. And then he calls Tim Rogers, and just a lot of people being very, very angry.
Yeah, the sitting outside a restaurant is one thing. There's lots of people coming in and out. Just sitting in. I've been to that neighborhood. No one's outside.
I was
there.
naive. Yeah, and honestly, it was probably not.
Looks
the
really
safest,
stalkerish, weird. Yeah.
Not the safest decision to just park myself on the sidewalk there either.
No, it wasn't it wasn't an area where you're like, this is fine. This is great. I'm sure they'll like a guy that looks like me is going to be fine here.
Yeah.
You wouldn't welcome a guy that looks like him just sitting outside your house?
I would think that's very odd.
Yeah, just looking in the abandoned houses, just knocking on random
What's the
doors.
app that wives would put you on now?
Next door.
Yeah.
You would have been,
Yeah, I don't think there were a lot of people in that neighborhood on the next door app, but
no.
But yeah,
at that point,
in a different neighborhood, that's exactly what would have happened, and yeah, the cops would have been there very, very quickly.
So that was a good story, man. That was very interesting.
Yeah, he did not love the story because I think he just really felt like it was an invasion of privacy in a way I really didn't want it.
And in a way, he's got a point.
But but it also, it was just a view of him that nobody else that had just not been seen at the time, and again, an incredibly compelling character that we had to cut a substantial amount out of that story just because there were so many great lines that he had just said over the years.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering about this. This is from the podcast, too. You're just talking about the change in alt weeklies and how it was a very renegade place, and they would report on anything. Nothing was off limits. They couldn't bow down to a sponsor who complained that they were going to pull their advertising because they had so much else. But as time shifted and as there was possible, protest at the sponsors now, you did get a story pulled.
I did.
And I wonder if that's ever happened anywhere else, too. You were, in on the very early days of the opioid crisis.
Yeah. Before that term had even been used.
Like pill mills, whatever they call it.
Yeah, where I lived in South Florida was basically like the Columbia of prescription drugs, right?
And now everybody's like, oh, yeah, of course. That's right. And
right.
there's documentary after documentary about that.
Right. People have won Pulitzers on those stories. And this was super early on in that. And they were just everywhere. And so I just and I was already in touch with sheriffs and counselors in places like Kentucky and Ohio.
Was it like you found more pill outlets than Starbucks, something like that?
More pill mills than McDonald's.
In
Broward County alone, which is where Fort Lauderdale is. And I knew that because a politician said that during a debate. There's more pill mills than McDonald's, and that seemed like insane because there were a lot of McDonald's. There were 70.
And you thought that's just a politician blowing hot air?
Yeah, and it takes a while to count,
It turns out it's true.
It was true. Yeah, it was more than 100 pill mills, and it was probably 70-something McDonald's in this county, which is a lot of McDonald's. There's probably a highest concentration of McDonald's outside of New York. And so, I worked on the story for a long time and was in touch with families who had people die from addiction and sheriffs who had jails and morgues filled with people who had just ruined their lives on these drugs, all coming from South Florida. And at some point, I was told the story was killed. And I was never given an exact reason why, which was very frustrating and honestly kind of the beginning of the end of my time there. But it was also obvious a little bit what was happening because the last 10 pages of our newspaper were just pill mill ads and very explicit pill mill ads, right? Saying, come here for opiates.
And this is like when advertising was starting to go down, right? Like,
right.
So like,
this was the pressure.
These were like the last
they needed
few spots.
Right.
Yeah,
the business model was really beginning to be tested nationally. They had a big feud with Craigslist and kind of celebrated when Craigslist ended their adult ads. And their editorial strategy nationwide was kind of shifting a little bit. And Mike Lacey and Jim Larkin were also battling Joe Arpaio in Arizona and all of these boycott threats across the country. And so things were really beginning to change. And I don't think I noticed that as a reporter until then, right? Because the business side had been kept so separate from what we were doing. We were just told over and over again, just never worry about an ad. There's no sacred cows, nothing like that. And then
turns out to be the sleaziest place you could worry about. You have to worry about.
And these were really fascinating places that were just wreaking devastation across the country and changing our country forever.
Jake,
Dan,
I just can't stop thinking of just how awesome your voice is. God damn, I wish my voice was yours.
Thank you. So I was so worried about because so many people have great podcast voices. You guys have great voices. So many have
Thank
that,
you.
that NPR voice. Yeah.
No, I think you could sweet talk me with that voice. It's very sexy. No, Jake used to have an agent who represented Vanilla Ice at one point. And I understand you have some connection with Vanilla Ice.
I do. I have a lot of connections with Vanilla Ice.
What does that mean?
So I knew Vanilla Ice when I was like 5. He raced motocross here, and my family was a motocross family. My cousin was a big.
How old are you?
43.
Okay.
And so there's some picture of me somewhere in the back of or next to Vanilla Ice's IROC. Or, like one of his, I think he was driving an IROC at the time, and he was not known as Vanilla Ice. He was just known as Robbie
Van Winkle.
Yeah. And so then when I was in Miami, he lived there, and it was kind of one of the lowest points of his life. It was before his reality show and all that, and he was just beginning to.
So after he was Vanilla Ice.
After he was Vanilla Ice, probably 10 years after he had kind of tried to kill himself, and
after Suge Knight.
Yeah, after Suge Knight shook him down for some money, and then.
Oh wait, is that the hanging him over the balcony story?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
He later said he was not hung over a balcony, but he was strong-armed into giving Suge Knight a substantial amount of Ice Ice Baby money.
It's kind of funny though. You can really only kind of try to kill yourself.
Yeah.
You either do it,
or you kind of tried.
Or you kind of tried.
Yeah. I think he tried and then woke up. So
yeah.
So I hung out with Rob Van Winkle for a couple of days in South Florida and wrote a story about how he just basically was kind of owning his identity at that point. And we actually met when I was with him, we met the Sugar Hill Gang. And so
why not?
He was like, yeah, exactly, as one does. And then and Rob, was basically like he'd been identified by Ice Ice Baby, which he wrote when he was like 16 or 17 years old. And this had just defined his life and become a joke. It was super popular, a lot of money, and then became a big joke and mocked and destroyed on MTV and all sorts of lines and
as it were.
Now he's touring with Christopher Kid Reed.
Yeah.
Are they on some kind of
like
90s?
Totally 90s tour or something like that.
I mean, I bet those concerts are a lot of fun now. So we met the Sugar Hill Gang, and they were like, yeah, one song. It's still great. Like we play it all the time. People love it. Like we are able to transport people back into their youths, have great times. And I went to I went to 2 of his concerts actually. And, it was like some 35-year-old asses shaking all over the place.
Jake's dream.
Fantastic.
Was there a court case with him and David Bowie over the
Queen?
Yeah, I don't know if it. I don't know
Queen?
if it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was Queen and David Bowie. That's who did that song. And he had the famous line where it was on MTV. Right.
Yeah.
And so when I was with him, people would come up and ask him about that all the time. And he was like, yeah, I was wrong. And he ended up giving David Bowie and Queen a large amount of Ice Ice Baby money as well. This is how much Ice Ice Baby made, by the way, that he was able to give Suge Knight some and Queen and David Bowie and just spread that Ice Ice Baby money around and never ran out of money, right? He still, he was never broke. He still lived in a very nice place in Palm Beach.
I watched that clip 1,000 times and was like, I'm missing something.
Right.
Every single time. He's like, so ours was done, 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 and theirs was done, 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 done.
Yeah. Totally different.
And I'm like,
totally different.
Two totally different.
You're literally saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. But I mean, imagine how it affects your brain and your development if something you did when you were 16 becomes like a national crazy phenomenon that they could, like Walmart could not bring enough of these tapes in because they would sell out immediately. And so there were big trucks of these things.
I absolutely bought it.
For 9 months, of course.
Then he had that Ninja rap money afterwards, man.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Yeah. Great song.
That TMNT 2 money.
Yeah.
What is your connection with Mitch Hedberg if we're doing the life and times of Michael?
Yeah, I love this. Is a little bit of a this is your life through stories, which I actually these are all you've all picked the stories that you've picked the stories I like a lot, so that works out well. I love Mitch Hedberg, probably the greatest comedian in my mind of all time, or way up there. And I was obsessed with him, and actually saw him in Austin while we were hanging out occasionally.
You're saying funnier than Rita Rudner?
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, we'll think about it.
What about Sinbad, though? Let's not forget Sinbad and all.
What about Sinbad?
Yeah, I mean, not funnier than Necessary Roughness, Sinbad, but but just and especially when I was in college, like Mitch Hedberg lines as he did to an enormous amount of people.
We communicated via Mitch Hedberg quotes.
Yeah, just constantly, right? And those like that type of humor was just amazing, right? Because it wasn't just clever and cutesy; it was like he spoke in the way our brains worked in a lot of ways. And so, so I loved him. Was obsessed with him. When he died, 2005, I was just kind of beginning to realize I really wanted to write in magazines. A couple of years later, I reached out to his widow, and I'd heard that he had all of these notebooks. And so I talked to her, and she invited me out to their cabin in Big Bear, California, and we went through his notebooks for days.
What proof that sometimes you just have to ask?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like you actually got invited.
Yeah,
to look through these notebooks.
And I'm sure.
And you're just some guy.
I'm sure that people had asked.
You weren't working anywhere huge paper or anything?
I was doing it for GQ, so like not nowhere.
Okay, that was a little bit. That's a nice word to
And I'm sure that people had asked before, and it was some part timing where she was just ready at the moment I asked. And, you know, and so it was incredible, right? These notebooks you could see the evolution of his jokes. You could see like little things he had drawn in there, and it's just, you could see into his mind in a little bit. It was just a fascinating world. And you got to see like where he lived in this, like outside of LA in the mountains. And also the damage that his death and his life had done to this woman. You know, Lynn, his widow, was kind of like permanently, you know, traumatized by this, obviously. And it was amazing. And at the end, she gave me a pair of his sunglasses. So he would often wear sunglasses on stage, and this was kind of like part of his personality. Yeah. And so at the end, she was like, you know, would you like a pair of these? And I realized what she was handing me. And of course, there was also like a cheese grater over there, like in the cabin. And I was like, hey, that's a sponge ruiner. And she's like, yeah, no, I've heard of all of his jokes. But yeah, so I mean, it was just, and I'm still in touch with her. And I wrote about it in GQ, these notebooks that he had, and I still want to write more about it and you know, go out there and more. I think that there's more I would like to do on that. Mitch Hedberg's just an amazing character.
Do you wear the shades?
No, I never did. And in fact, actually, my wife, I have like a box of kind of things that I've collected through journalism through the years. And they were in there, and I had an upstairs office when I lived in Oak Cliff. And I just walked up there one time, and she was just wearing the sunglasses. And I was like, do you know what those are? And she's like, sunglasses. I was like, do you know who the last person to wear those sunglasses? And she like immediately took them off. She's like, oh my God, these are Mitch Hedberg sunglasses, aren't they? I was like, yeah. So now Mitch Hedberg was not the last person to wear them, but I don't think I ever wore them.
Never wore them.
I don't know if that would feel right. Maybe I did at some point when I was not sober, but yeah. But I don't think I did, because there's some reverence to them, right?
Yeah. She never asked you to wear them while conceiving or making a baby or anything?
If she did, I would never tell anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
she knows that.
I thought I have to ask, right? In journalism, you just have to ask.
Full circle back to the missionary discussion. Really.
Yeah. That absolutely. Yeah. That's what we were doing here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, this is great. I really enjoyed the podcast. We want everybody to download it and buy Audible and do stuff like that? And
thank you very much.
Does that line your pockets, or you already got paid? You don't really care.
I mean, it certainly helps. We'd like to do another podcast. For Audible at some point.
There's so many podcasts within that podcast too, like the stories that were in there. So I was telling them, and they need to just go and deep dive into all of those.
Yeah, spin off. And we'd obviously like the podcast to be turned into a scripted series and documentary at some point too.
It kind of seems like, yes, if you're saying podcast within a podcast, just stories that you've dealt with in the alt weeklies.
Yeah.
The whole the story of the baby man is one that jumps to mind. That in the podcast, Blake, it was.
What do you think of when you hear the word baby man?
I was just trying to picture what
a guy who wanted to, I wonder if that's where you ever see the Tim and Eric be a baby sketch. I wonder if that kind of came from that.
It was a thing. There's a lot of adults who a fetish is that they live as babies. So this guy
wore a diaper,
curled his hair, used a pacifier, slept in an adult-sized crib, ate baby food, hired women to come over and mommy him.
Yep. Change his diaper. He trained himself to be incontinent by chaining his toilet closed. And in the alt weekly world,
chaining his toilet closed.
Yeah, padlocking his toilet. And in the alt weekly world, that story was like legendary, right? Because this is the kind of amazing character that you're looking for, because stories like that illuminate parts of society
that
nobody would otherwise see, right?
Now, would that be a guy at a bar having a drink, though?
A baby? What do you mean?
But did Baby Man go out?
He did, yeah. He would. He met the reporter, actually, who did that story. He met him at a bar. Baby Man walks up, of course, orders a bottle of beer. And the guy walks by and says...
Does he put the nipple on the top of the beer?
I wanted to know so bad.
Oh.
And the guy walks, and a drunk walks by, and it's like, ooh, what's that smell? And Baby Man turns around, and he's like, that's diaper powder. You like it? And the guy walks away. Exactly. You made the right face. That's right. And the guy walks away, and Baby Man's like, he didn't want to fight me. I know karate.
That's why he didn't want to fight you.
Yeah.
Also addicted to crack, by the way.
Yeah. As the reporter said.
Babies will.
Sometimes they
yeah. And it turns out he was like a millionaire. He had a lot of family money.
He was the heir of the Popular Mechanics.
Fantastic.
He'd had enough money to afford him this baby lifestyle. And the journalist who did that, of course, was going through his own, and Baby Man was addicted to crack. He just needed love and crack. The journalist who did that story was also going through a lot of stuff in his own life. So around the time that he was reporting that story, he was also robbing businesses because he was a gambling addict. So he was
stick-up man.
Yeah, he like 11 or 12 businesses, many of them salons. So he was nicknamed the Salon Bandit. And was arrested at a poker table. I think he'd gone through 60 grand or something like that, and ended up spending 9 or 10 years in prison. And he was
at Joe Arpaio's prison.
In Joe Arpaio's jail. That's where he started. Yeah.
Full circle. All full circle.
They all fit together, which was incredibly difficult to arrange all of these things historically. So knowing this podcast was coming 20 years ago was really, really difficult to.
I know you've written about something else that we're always fascinated by when we hear a local story about it, but it's like the underground swingers scene.
Yeah, sex clubs.
Cherry Blossom, right?
Cherry Blossom is the local one, right?
Yeah.
One of the local ones.
Because you did that in Florida
Cherry
somewhere.
Pit, maybe?
Cherry Pit was the one that was shut down, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I think here.
Yeah.
I actually don't know the Dallas sex club scene as well as I know the South Florida sex club scene, because that's where I wrote about it. And yeah, it's evidence that you could write about almost anything in all weeklies.
Are these people disgusting like they say at the nude beach? You wouldn't want to be there?
It's a broad range, right? So not an enormous amount of young, attractive people. And they also varied, right? So there were 5 or 6 big sex clubs in South Florida, and they were as different from each other as businesses or restaurants can be. So some of them were kind of like slightly more on the trucker end of lifestyle. Some of them in like Miami were super young, attractive,
cocaine,
plastic filled people. Yeah. And some of them were some of them skewed slightly older. Some of them were like a lot of New York transplants who grew up in the swingers clubs in New York and then came down to Florida to quasi-retire, but didn't want to give up that part of their lifestyle. And it was just fascinating to see the stories that led people and the communities that built from all of these people gathering for this one interest that they had.
I don't know if it's the biggest thing you've ever done, but the book that you wrote on Chris Kyle is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I was one of the last journalists to interview Chris Kyle. I was working on a story about him.
American Sniper,
Navy SEAL, most prolific sniper in American history. He came back here.
So he says.
So he says. That's right.
All right. That's the name. Is the book called The Legend of Chris Kyle?
The Life and Legend of Chris Kyle, yeah.
And that title did not sit well with the family of Chris Kyle.
I've had a lot of talks with the family of Chris Kyle when it started as a D Magazine story, and then when the book came out. That was a real tough one because Chris Kyle said some things that were just not verifiable, right? That were really hard to figure out if he was telling the truth or not. And he had told people, including me, but I'd heard about it first before I heard it from him, that he was at a gas station and he had been carjacked and he pulled a gun and killed 2 carjackers. He also told people that he had been in New Orleans during Katrina and posted on the Superdome. And these things were very impossible to verify. And I spent days trying to figure out that gas station thing. I went to he told me the city it happened in and the highway, and I went to every single gas station there and asked people about it. Tried every police organization you could possibly imagine to see if there's any report about this, any video anywhere. And I was working on this when he was murdered. And so, yeah, it's really complicated. Just certainly the most celebrated war hero of our time and maybe of all time in America. But to know that some of the things he said were, probably not true. He's a very complicated character, very complicated figure. And I thought it was really interesting. And again, shows parts of society that would be really difficult to eliminate otherwise.
I'm not often a journalist, but I did some investigative journalism, which kind of started at a gas station too. I discovered.
That's right. He went to Alabama.
I went to Alabama and discovered the Alabama leprechaun. I actually met the Alabama leprechaun. Are you familiar with that story?
I've seen a drawing of him.
Yeah. So you're familiar with the old.
Dan's met him.
I want the gold.
Yeah. I found him. I met him. Very seedy situation, but I kind of feel like a kindred spirit, you and I.
Oh yeah,
we've both been to Ron Washington's dilapidated New Orleans underwater house, and well, it's not underwater anymore, but apparently at one point it was.
And gas station reporters, we should probably
you can learn a lot there.
We should probably form a union.
That is like the heart and soul of any city.
That's right.
Is the corner gas station. All right, shall we move on and do the news and stuff?
Let go.
All right.
Here's Jay.
That's how we do this.
Dumb Zone News.
Well, the woman that made America horny again, Stormy Daniels, took the witness stand today, Dan, at Donald Trump's hush money trial.
Talking about Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Okay. They paid her off.
Yes.
In theory.
That's what she says.
Yeah.
They had a sexual encounter in 2006. And she apparently got pretty graphic about this on the stand today. Now, I've seen her motorboat somebody. Is anyone else? That feels like a story you would have written, though.
I feel like, though, that's investigative journalism. You went as she was on the tour.
She's local, too.
Oh, for sure.
She lives in North Texas.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
In Terrell?
I think.
Tigers.
Thank you, Blake.
Weren't we just there?
You're in Tyler.
Oh, we were in Tyler.
We are a...
Terrell's on the way.
We are a hotbed for adult film stars, though.
Really?
Wait, did you say 2006? Didn't he... I think Donald Trump had just had a child at that point. Or his wife might have been pregnant.
No,
just had a,
no!
That couldn't have been...
Yeah,
that couldn't have been the right time, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Is that an adult movie Chappie would want to see, though?
Probably not, as I've been told he's not into that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this AP report, though. It says Daniel strode briskly into the courtroom before being sworn in, not pausing to look at Trump, who stared straight ahead as she entered, but later shook his head and whispered frequently to his lawyers as she testified.
Now, if Biden wants to play the Trump game,
okay,
at the debates, he's got Stormy Daniels sitting there.
Like Trump did with Hillary?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be solid.
Had all the Bill Clinton ladies who charged him with this and that.
The ones that are alive.
Yeah.
I think Donald's whispering.
It's important to have the ones that are alive.
Yeah, I hit that.
What are the top 3 things Donald Trump was whispering to his attorney?
Yeah.
It would be very interesting, though, to see how he would handle that. Because he might just address it.
You're a dog.
Yeah, somehow he would turn that into a victory for him.
Yeah. Horse face? He called her horse. No, that was the other one.
There'd be T-shirts the next day with a new phrase.
Did call her horse.
No, it was the lady that in the Bloomingdale's whatever store that he called her horse face. It's like, I would never assault this one. Look at her. It could be multiple ones. I mean,
I feel like he called Stormy Daniels horse face.
Oh, well.
But there's no way Blake could have looked that up by now.
I'm looking it up.
Is he searching Stormy Daniels on Google and then going through a couple images?
Yeah, in 2018.
He called her a horse face?
Mm-hmm.
You're equine.
It just doesn't sound like him. It doesn't sound like something
he
he'd
would
say.
never just.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Boy Scouts of America are changing their name yet again, Dan. Now they will be called Scouting America, which feels, frankly, way more pedophile-ish.
Oh, yeah. Grooming America. So they were...
Yeah, why don't you just call it that?
They were BSA, right?
Yeah.
Because we've highlighted the other day, I think.
Better than the gay boys, I guess.
That's right.
Because they started adding girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, ladies are ruining society.
My daughter asked me about joining the Boy Scouts the other day. Or the Scouts, I suppose. You do that? That's good.
Cub Scouts.
Yeah,
I never went up to boy.
I was a Weebelo.
Weebelo?
Yep.
Is that God-related? What is that called? Awana?
No, I don't think so.
Awana's God-related, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a Cub Scout, Wolf Scout, then Weebelo, and then started playing
Flamed
sports.
out. Yeah. I don't know. She asked me about it. I'm like, I mean, whatever you want to do, hon, I'm happy with. But if you want me to teach you how to tie a knot, it's not happening.
Yeah.
You
You
don't
want me to go camping with you?
You
I
don't have a
wanna do
list
that.
of like too high risk endeavors, like no altar boy, no cheerleader. Like there's things that are just come with innate risk that you don't just have a.
I don't feel like Scouts is on that list. Does it feel like it is for you?
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah, that's a big. I mean they're with the Catholic Church in pure numbers, but for years that organization definitely covered up for some pedophiles.
Well, I'm going to leave it to the investigative reporter to
Yeah.
tell me what exactly my kid should not be involved in.
Also, no milk cartons.
That's right.
Girl Scouts are cool, though, right? They just got the cookie game. That's all it is.
Child labor is a totally separate issue. That's a totally. And some, what are those Samoas? They're amazing.
Yeah, they're great.
They are good.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah, because I'm against it.
Cookie stranglehold.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like if you have some moral quandary, with the Chick-fil-A owner. It's like, yeah, but...
Is there any way I could buy these delicious cookies from an adult?
Very good. Yeah. Like, is it only thought of as that good
non-predatory adult.
because it's only available seasonally?
There's something to that.
The McRib, like the
Yeah.
The McRib.
It's McRib season. It's Samoa season. Am I saying that cookie name right? Is that Samoa?
Samoas, yeah.
Like the island.
But a samosa is like a appetizer
Samosa
at
is
an
the name of the
Indian-
cookie.
Samosa's the Indian.
Yeah, an appetizer in an Indian restaurant. Yeah. Not to be confused.
Are we sure about that?
What's the drink? Mimosa?
And then mimosa, yeah.
There you go.
What did you just say?
He just wants to
respect it.
play.
That was a good one.
Wants to get
I
involved.
want to be in the Mimosa
fine.
game.
I
And
respect
then
it.
and then
I've
Aquaman
never-
was Momoa.
That's
Jason.
right.
Yes, Jason Momoa.
Okay, I think we've gotten this all straight.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, so they are changing their name, the Boy Scouts of America, for the first time in their 114-year history. Scouting America will become the new moniker.
That'll fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, no pedophiles are going to join an organization called Scouting America.
Oh, I'm seeing here it says in parentheses, no more having sex with kids.
Well, they're okay.
Is that in the title of the
Is
organization?
that part of their mission statement?
Yeah. No murder.
That's right.
I should say when I was in part of the Boy Scouts, everything was cool. Nothing happened.
Yeah, whatever.
Very specific to now.
The Cotton Bowl may be the home to a new professional sports team, and I have not seen a sports mayor weigh in on this. What's your opinions of sports mayor? Jay Mooney.
I think that he is actually selling himself short in only wanting 2 NFL teams here.
That's right.
I think
Why
we
not?
could easily have 5 or 6.
Why not? Why don't we have the AFC and the DFC?
That's right.
We just move an entire conference here.
Get another NBA team too. I mean,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he been mayor, like 8 years now?
It's a long time.
It feels like 8. I don't think it's quite that long.
And of all these sports things he's tried for, he's got the Dallas Wings here now.
Well, look out, because the Women's Pro Soccer League, the USL, has a new team.
USL?
That's right.
Okay.
The USL Super League will begin play in August, and one of the new teams will be based in the Cotton Bowl.
Hell yeah.
Like it's never existed before? This is a new league?
No, I thought...
No. It's not a new league. It's just
they're just
new
now
team. Yeah.
Expansion team.
Finally, Dallas gets a team?
Finally.
And of all the places, of all the soccer fields here, the Cotton Bowl is where they landed.
Do you know all the coaches in the USL?
I will by tomorrow if you want me to.
Jake knows all the coaches in the WNBA.
Dan knows all the managers in MLB.
I know some, like the best gamblers in America are obsessed with women's basketball, WNBA, because they can find edges there that over the casinos that they just...
It's true.
Yeah, you can find real expertise. You watch games all the time. You can make some real money gambling there.
You're saying there's a lot of edging in the WNBA.
Is that how that came across? Yes. That was not my mission.
Okay.
Mission. Mm-hmm. I do recall that 4 or 5 years ago, Bob was cleaning up on MLS.
Yeah, that's what he would tell us.
Real estate website. Like he was actually
right, because these spare sports, yes,
yeah,
people aren't paying
low information bettors.
Yeah, and the casinos just don't have people who are experts in these.
There's not investing in it.
I think the place now to find that is at Dave & Buster's. You can find the best
Papa Shot player.
Yeah,
go take the under on Blake and skee ball.
Yeah,
who is handicapping bubble hockey at these places?
All right, there's your news.
All right. That's all Jake has for us today.
Zone News.
We've been going a long time,
Subscribe.
We've been going a long time. Here we go.
Make fun of me.
Oh, I don't. I thought that's all we did. Today is Tuesday, May 7th.
May the 7th be with you.
And also with you, Blake.
You guys are dorks.
Yes, we're the dorks.
On this day in 1945, Germany signed an unconditional surrender at Allied headquarters in France. You ever been to France, Michael?
I have.
Certainly you have. Yeah. You seem like a world traveler.
Did they bring a conditional surrender first? Like, first offer.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
If you're going to keep...
Hey, what's with these conditions? Get them out of here.
This was unconditional. So that ended its role in World War II, which probably ended a few days earlier when Hitler made that other guy president and then killed himself. It's like...
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
No, he could be in Argentina.
That's right.
Let's see.
There's got to be a good documentary about that, right?
If only the history.
World War II?
Yeah.
Boys from Brazil.
Well, no.
What do you mean?
That's a great point. But no, like the German Argentinians.
Oh, yeah. There must.
That's got to be something that somebody's tracked down.
Get on that, right? Dude.
Yeah, come on. What are you doing?
You're just sitting over here on the couch.
That Anya Taylor-Joy, the girl from Queen's Gambit, she's Argentinian. I just found that out. She does not look Argentinian. She looks very German Argentinian.
There's not a lot of blonde, blue-eyed Argentinians.
Well, actually, there are, but that's maybe for a reason.
Yeah.
On this day in 2002, 4 days after they had been eliminated from the Eastern Conference playoffs, Allen Iverson of the 76ers gave a very famous press conference when people were asking him about, why he wasn't at practice.
Mm-hmm.
And we played that during the break, Jake. So go back and watch the break. It's really funny.
We sitting here.
On this day in 2016, we have a clip of this. Bartolo Colon.
Colon looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one.
This is his first home run ever.
That goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it.
He was 40-something years old, right?
The impossible has happened.
He's all fat.
That belt is doing a lot of work.
Former Ranger?
Yeah.
This is after the Rangers. Look how big he is.
Didn't he have a triple here?
It's Benji Molina.
Benji Molina. Yeah, when Grieve freaked out.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Or did he have it inside the park? One of them.
Think of how lost that ball would have to be for Bartolo Colon.
So, look, they cleared the dugout. Yeah, turn it up.
That was one of the longest home run trots I've ever seen, but I think that's how fast he runs. And now they'll flood up the tunnel and give him his just due. His 226th career at bat.
That's awesome.
You knew if he ever made contact in just the right way, he was strong enough to do it. And now
Yeah. I like the bit when the rookie hits the home run and everybody just pretends they're sleeping in the dugout, or they just leave the dugout.
Baseball's great.
You know what? I'm going to have to agree with you there.
Wait, would you rather have a pitcher hit a home run or like a defensive lineman do a 90-yard return?
Oh, that's not even a question for me. Yeah. I'm a fat guy touchdown guy.
Yeah. Roderick Wright against OU.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Leon Lett. Fumble.
Let it go.
Never.
Are you friends with Brian Curtis?
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah.
I heard him mention you on his
Love
podcast.
Brian.
I texted Brian about his podcast. He was like, yeah, I heard it.
We ran into him in New Orleans.
Sorry.
Yeah, we ran into him in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Tell you something cool that I heard. Pascal Zone.
Yeah, that's right.
On this day in the year 2020. Remember 2020?
Vaguely.
Pandemic-y.
Yeah.
A Texas hair salon owner who was sentenced to a week behind bars for keeping her business open.
This is Luther.
Despite the governor's...
I bet Video Man's met her.
Emergency orders was freed after less than 48 hours.
Yep.
The governor removed her.
Yeah.
So what a weird political game they played there when the governor put in the order to shut down the business. She defied it, and then the governor pulled her out of jail like, look, I'm the hero here. Wait, I thought you were the guy that put the order in to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't
How does
make a
that
whole lot
all
of sense,
work?
does it?
How does that work?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard for a governor to stand up for what he believes in.
Whoa. Bro, I don't even do that.
What?
Wow. Yeah.
What, I mean, just because he's a flip-flopper.
He is a flip-flopper. He can't take a position.
Well, I guess sometimes.
Oh, wow.
I don't even do that.
Wow.
That's like the third rail that I've not...
Like bring a text chain into a microphone.
Is that what he uses?
See, he knows.
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying out for the seat.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I like that.
For the seat.
Taking credit as a hero for fixing a mess you made. That's a good move.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like Backpage helping the police with.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't walk.
Today's birthdays.
I was just saying.
Is that what? Okay.
Tree.
That's not what you were saying?
Yeah.
Today's birthdays. We have John Ridgway is 25. Do you remember him, Jim?
The Vanilla Gorilla.
Yes.
Good friend of ours.
Yeah, we interviewed him. He was a training camp body, but he got cut or
Commanders.
Or traded. Somehow he's on Washington.
Cut.
He would chase his pre-workout with Mountain Dew Code Red.
That's
And
what
his thigh pads
were a gorilla.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Now, we did determine the only gorilla you could be in pro sports is a vanilla gorilla. Because I think...
Yeah. I think that's the only
just not a
safe
nickname you're going to throw around.
No.
Loosely.
No.
Anton Hudobin is 38.
Dobie.
Oh, I'm not going home. I think he somehow got me suspended from Twitter. Oh, yeah. That's what it was. So, do you remember the "We're Not Going Home" clip?
Mm-hmm.
I think I posted it, and I said it was like, this is a bad tweet, but it was like before the 2020 election, and I think I posted it and said something to the effect of Trump on November 8th. And I actually got suspended for election misinformation.
For predicting the future?
You're second.
Third.
You've been suspended 3 times from Twitter?
Yeah.
Wow. You weren't going to follow up and tell us why? Sean Marion is 46.
We've told the story. The Matrix.
Yeah.
Jump shot that resembles mine.
Robbie Knievel is 62.
Heard how you were born.
The son of evil.
Mm-hmm.
Which I kind of grew up with. People were really stoked on Evel Knievel.
Why were people obsessed with this?
With jumping
he just
cars.
He just rode his motorcycle.
We just didn't have much.
That had to be it, right?
Also, super early on, he had a disaster crash where he broke every bone in his body. So everybody would tune in to just watch, is this going to be a time where he does it again?
Yeah. This is when we were a proper country, too, because, if you see it now, like the Wallendas now, like whatever generation of the Wallendas it is now, they have a huge net.
Yeah.
Like this
Grandpa
guy was
Walenda
dying.
was walking,
over lava.
Peru or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, died doing it.
For sure.
So, I mean, you clearly want him to fail, but then he makes the jump and everyone's happy for him.
Is this guy alive? Randall Tex Cobb. I feel like he's not alive, but it says here he's 74.
Packers?
I was going to say receiver.
No, I thought, wasn't he a...
Wasn't he on the Texans? He was on the Jets.
I thought he was a...
Stop it.
Was he not in Raising Arizona? No one? No one's going to help me here? The biker in Raising Arizona? Tex Cobb? You want to look at your computer man? Jesus. Sitting over here. Doing all this heavy lifting.
I'm with you, dude.
Yeah, still alive.
Was he in Raising Arizona?
Yes, he was.
We're now watching Blake Reed.
Some scrolling on IMDb there. That took
it did take a minute.
I mean, how many movies has he been in?
56K?
Oh,
Did you have to send that thing to the moon?
He's in Ace Ventura.
Okay. Amy Heckerling is 72.
Who's she?
She wrote...
Clueless.
Or
really
directed Fast Times, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else did you say?
Clueless. Didn't she write Clueless?
Did she do Clueless?
Yeah. If only we had IMDb open.
If only there was a way to find out.
Not doing that again.
Tracy Lords is 56.
Ooh, Up All Night.
No.
Isn't that USA Up All Night? Am I making that up?
That was Rhonda something? USA's Up.
Yeah, that's
All
what I was
Night.
thinking of.
No, Tracy Lords is like porn star.
Oh.
Made an enormous amount of porns before she turned 18. Got them all banned. Owned the only one she did after she was 18, like a genius business person who was also a terrible, nefarious human being. And then appeared in a bunch of John Waters movies.
There you go.
Who needs IMDb?
Yeah, who needs Blake?
There's a funny note on Tracy Lord's Wikipedia page. It says activism, and there's just one line. Lords has publicly stated her support of the LGBT community.
Okay.
Like, okay. Well,
What about Q's?
You didn't.
Not Q's.
You didn't
Got in before that.
publicly say you wanted them to die. Like,
Yeah.
what is? How is that activism? I publicly support them.
Activist.
Dan?
Activist.
I'm not ready to go public.
Not public yet.
No.
Okay.
Matt Gaetz is 42.
Speaking of pedophiles.
That's true. There's a guy on Twitter whose name is Matt Gaetz, who every single time this stuff
guy.
pops up, he just has to like tweet out, "Please stop tweeting me." He's like a reporter or something, right?
I love that. Scouting America, Matt Gaetz.
Maybe he should change his name to Matthew.
He's the one who sucks.
And Jimmy Donaldson is 26. And he's more famous than anybody, certainly in this room. Jimmy Donaldson is
Mr.
known
Beast?
as Mr. Beast.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Good pull.
How'd you know that?
When you said more famous than anybody in this room, it could only be Mr. Beast.
Oh, you can only be Mr. There's only one person.
Yeah, how many Patreon subscribers does he have?
So did he start with,
Counting to 1 million?
yeah, just sitting, counting on video? It was 100,000, I think it was.
It's a good bid.
What a beating.
But just, that's all he did. And people just tuned in and got him a
Unreal.
ton of followers.
Gone from Evel Knievel to counting to 100,000.
Right.
Where do you stand on
rooting
the
for him to fail.
Where do you stand on like the Mr. Beast moral quandary? That like he does pretty generous acts of kindness, but turns it into content, and people get mad at him for it.
But I mean, that content is fueling the next generous act of kindness.
I know.
It's also raising awareness.
Yeah.
I don't really see the big issue with it.
There's no issue.
But people get mad at him for it. Like, he cured a bunch of people of blindness.
How dare he?
Like, there's a ton of people on Earth that for like $200 could see.
How dare you make money off of kindness in America?
But they're like, oh, he's just turning you into a prop. It's like,
I guess
yeah,
it's when you say they, though. What is that? Just the mob, the people?
No, you're right.
The internet.
It's kind of his currency, though.
Yeah. But he just plows ahead, as you should do. Born on this day now dead, Owen Hart.
I was a fan.
Please, Michael, tell me you weren't into wrestling.
As a young kid, I really definitely.
Who wasn't?
Macho Man Randy Savage.
I'm sorry.
You were.
I'm sorry. Did you just look at this guy?
I was the only.
And act surprised.
I feel like
that he
I'm
was
the only
into
person in
wrestling?
the world that just never got sucked in, even a tiny bit, even as a little kid.
You saw Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan in the same ring and as a child, and you weren't compelled by this.
Dude, and he has like, his parents were divorced. He was a latchkey kid.
Oh my God.
He and I are very, very
that's
similar
the
in a lot of
formula
ways. And
for
that's why I
wrestling fan.
don't understand why he didn't get bit by the bug of wrestling.
How did you not end up on the front row of a WWF show?
It was
I know.
so great.
It just
dude.
bothers me that all these people that I respect, like Brian Curtis, huge into wrestling.
Yeah.
He was a kid.
Von Erich. I went to the premiere of the Von Erich movie of Iron Claw in Oak Cliff.
That's not something that you should brag about.
No. It's
a
the
great
Von Erich
movie.
story is amazing. That's an amazing.
That's a great movie, by the way, too.
It's okay movie.
You're
The story is amazing.
You're fighting by yourself.
I know, man.
Owen Hart, man. That was
tough.
That shook me.
No, you're not.
That shook me.
I'm not a conformist like you guys.
No, adult wrestling fans, like adult men who are into wrestling, very different than people who.
I
grew
know,
up.
but you guys
Not
have
saying
this
there's anything
shared
wrong with that.
stoicism of, man, yeah, remember when I was 8?
You have a wrestling belt on your desk right now.
I do, that's true.
He's got a good point.
That is true. Someone gave us that, though. I will take
Stoicism.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior. How could you not?
Oh my God.
Stone Cold and The Rock. I went to WrestleMania X7 in Houston.
We're talking about Attitude Era?
Hell yeah, bro.
My favorite wrestler was in the movie They Live, because I like that movie.
Rowdy.
That's right. Okay, you're familiar with that.
Roddy Piper.
Dead on This Day, Still Dead. I give you Seattle Slew and Eddie Rabbit.
What's Eddie Rabbit's bid?
My favorite country song. If you call I Love a Rainy Night a country song.
That's Eddie Rabbit?
Yeah. Sing it for us, Blake.
Don't know it.
He's shy.
And that was today.
I thought you hated songs about rain.
You have said that.
That's true. I don't. Creedence, every one of their songs is about rain.
My wife hates songs about space
or water.
All the
Jake.
moon to all the space songs in the 70s. She hates them all. Loves trucker songs. Hates space songs.
Damn. What's wrong with her? Anyway, Michael Mooney, thank you very much. Anything to promote? What do you got coming up? What
this
TV
podcast.
show are you going to be appearing on?
This podcast, Hold Fast. People should really listen to that. It's on Audible. It's an Audible original.
So good.
Yeah. I really I hope people listen to it. It's we put a lot of work into it. I think it's a pretty important story. And it's a fun time too. Fun ride.
What you working on now? Feet up? Just you got this Audible out?
Yeah,
Relax for a few months.
Yeah, I'm going to France, retiring. This is we got that Audible money now.
Okay. Interesting, the whole I really like you.
Uh-oh.
Yet.
Like where this is going. I'm intrigued.
You said you had a wedding in Wales, and I'm like, what a beating of a thing to invite people to a wedding in Wales.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm kind of.
Does that help you keep the wedding small?
I was going to say, yeah. you can-
Translation for people.
Yeah, like
Yes.
let your garden weed itself type thing.
That's exactly right. And
I wasn't
like,
invited.
The fear that somebody would. I mean, I think I invited you casually. But
Oh,
no,
sure.
it's you. No. But yeah, so it keeps it super small, so you don't have to worry. If people aren't invited to a wedding with like 15 people, it's not super offensive. And we've known each other long enough that we can bridge this.
Yeah.
And
we will recover.
And then anybody who comes, like, they really wanted to see you married.
Okay.
It was. I mean, you're talking a plane, a boat, and a train to get to, and then a cab. To get
I feel like this has to be all wife driven. Like, I've always dreamed of. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it was lovely.
Like I was in the room.
100% supported it all. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. We got married in that church in Cleveland because, okay. Whatever. We could not get married and that'll be fine too.
All the right decisions.
I'm going to get divorced in Wales.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
You want to come?
I absolutely do.
Wales is the Reno of Europe.
Would you go, Blake, to see if you got divorced in Wales?
All right.
How long's
it's
the
time. Any closing remarks?
Thank you guys for having me on. This is wonderful. I like you too, by the way.
Oh, that's great, man. When I get married again, actually when I renew my vows, because that's a thing I'm really fired up to do. I think that'd be really fun.
Invite me. Do you need somebody to officiate?
Yeah, I'm renewing my vows.
Registered?
Yeah, I'm registered.
I'm
Yeah,
registered too.
I do weddings.
Okay.
I've done 3. No big deal.
All right, geez. We're not a measuring contest here. So
Are they all
let
still
him have
together?
his wedding.
Are they all still together?
Yep, they all.
Oh,
All right, we got to go.
Okay, we do.
Adios, mofo.